cultured person is one who knows something about everything and everything about something.
I'm trying to free your mind, Neo. But I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it.
Our Great War is a spiritual war. Our Great Depression is our lives.
Blessed is he who in the name of charity and goodwill shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness. For he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children.
The question was, what did you want to be?
Are you good?
You're like a big bear, man.
I like it a lot.
What do you mean funny? Funny how? How am I funny?
This is the moment we've all been waiting for. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to roll!
Houston, the Eagle has landed.
All right. Here we go. You are now listening and watching TAJ Talks. Lift myself up a bit. Oh man, here we go. This is a Wednesday welcome to your Friday, or Saturday, or Sunday, or Monday, whenever you're listening to this. This is being put out there Friday, 3rd of June. And it's been a long time coming. Well, it's here. Man, nervous. Good reason. This is going out. And the only question that I have for you is, are you ready to follow the tangents? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh man. Right. So, here we are. Just want to see if I'm clipping. Dude, I already clipped. That is not good. I already clipped. Okay, but this is live. Unedited. I'm going to clear that clip right now. Hey, fancy word, clip. I'm learning about sound editing. I should know about sound editing, that's my job. Anyway, here we go. This is TAJ Talks. You are going to be witnessing something new. You're here with me. My name is TAJ. I forgot to do that bit on the intro. You see, this is the thing. I've said it though. This is. I was nervous. I was nervous. Jeez, I was really nervous. I forgot to do the main bit. I'll have to save it for another time. Perfection is not what we're about here. This is a big lesson that I've learned. Right. Yeah, sound is doing good. This. Many people have said, TAJ, just get it out there. The first one is going to be right, and that was my way of trying to. That sound was me trying to bleep out my own swear word, and that didn't even work. Anyway, they said it's gonna be poo poo. Yeah, I'll explain in a moment why I'm saying. So they said it's gonna be poo poo. And, man, poo-poo. I've just lost I just lost 50% of the 2 people that are watching this. Pretty good that, it's a good thing then that this is, not really been publicized too much. Anyway, they said just get it out there. And when I say they, I'm not going to refer to names just yet. You know who you are. That's a whole nother thing, in terms of the amount of people that have been behind the scenes over the last however many weeks, months, years for some people. In some cases, you know who you are. I'm not going to drop a name but you know who you are. Some people have been kind of asking me, "Hey, man, why don't you do something?" Hey, oh, I just heard something weird in my headphones. Then that was it. Anyway, this is all new. This is all new. What a and true to form, true to what these people have said. These amazing, encouraging people that I've had. Some people that I've known for a very short time, and others who have been there for years, I say. But they said it's going to be poo, and I messed up. I messed up. The chair squeaking. See, can you hear that? I got no space here. And I have to make sure I'm talking into the mic. The distance between this and that thing. That's not a good sound. But anyway, listen, the whole point is that this is going to be something brand new. I don't even know what it is. And there is going to be a lot of teething problems to sort out. I've tried to do most of the teething sorting out. What my English? I tried to sleep last night so that my brain was in gear, but I just been frazzled today. I've been working on even right up until this moment. This was supposed to be. Am I clipping? I was supposed to have started this round about. I said to myself, 8 o'clock. No, 6 o'clock. I think it was like 6 o'clock. I got to start this. This is going to be a 3-hour podcast. Yeah, talk about going into the deep end as well. Like, if I had two people watching this and they just heard, the one person who's left here just heard, because I used the word poo-poo rather than the other one. But if the one person who's left is going, 3 hours? Mate, I'm out. I've just lost 100% of my viewing figures right now. This is not going to be good for YouTube analytics. But anyway, you see, tangents. I made sure to get the tangents in the intro. I have lost what I was trying to say because I keep going off on tangents. I didn't even have time to make a slogan, but I knew tangents had to be involved in it somehow. It is unfolding. All of this is unfolding. I'm 7 minutes in and I haven't even explained nothing about what I've just been blah, blah, blahing. But anyway, listen, calm down, Taj. Chill out. Yeah. This is a brand new show. I've got 3 cameras, by the way. I don't know which one I'm going to be using for the edit. I think I may have just held this shot the whole time. But now let me introduce you to the setup. This is TAJ Talks. 8 minutes in. Finally, this is TAJ Talks. It's something new. It's going to be a bit poo to begin with, but it's a journey and it's going to unfold. And I invite you to come along with me. Whether you are watching this 3 months down the line, after this show has started, and then you decided to go back and say, I want to watch the earlier ones. And then I say, well, great for joining me midway in the journey and then going back to, just checking I'm not clipping, and then coming back to join me from the beginning of the journey, then welcome to the journey. But for those of you who are watching this on Friday the 3rd of June, that's I wanted to get that out there. Friday the 3rd of June. This was supposed to have happened the 1st of May. And even then, I was supposed to really have done this by April or March, because I had a friend who was only in the country for a short time, and he was planning to leave. And I said, man, I'm starting this thing. I'm starting a podcast, and I want to get you in as one of the guests. So I had this plan to start this thing around about April time, and it got pushed back to May. And then eventually I had a delay of another month because I was 1st of May. If I had tried to do what I'm doing now, this was supposed to happen on the 30th of April / 1st of May. If I had done that then with the all the problems that I had, it would have been even more terrible. But so I've done what I can to get it as far as I can into some kind of from light. And I'm going to be talking about this because today that is what the talk is going to be about. It's going to be about starting up a podcast, starting up this podcast. It just makes sense. That seems like the only reasonable thing to do for the first podcast is just to start talking about, where we're at in terms of this whole thing. So. Let me just. I'm really laboring this point. I don't really know where to go. I didn't even have time to make a proper. Can you tell? Can you tell that I didn't have time to make a proper script? I didn't even plan what I was going to say. A lot of it is going to be unscripted. I have a rule though. A lot of it is going to be unedited. In fact, all of it is going to be unedited. Nothing that is said here is going to be edited out. So this is a very dangerous thing, especially knowing me and the people I hang out with. We can say some stupid things sometimes, but it's all going to be part of a learning curve. So 10 minutes in, and let me just say, why am I looking at 10 minutes? That's because I just mentioned this is going to be a 3-hour thing, okay? 3 hours, but it's going to be broken up. You'll be happy to know, grateful to know, thankful to know. You saw what I was about to do there. You'll be happy to know this is going to be broken up into segments. So we're going to have breaks. We're going to have breaks every half hour. So while I'm looking, I'm like 8 minutes, 11 minutes, blah, blah, because I'm thinking, mate, I'm supposed to have done so many things by now already in this first segment. But this really is just an introduction segment with all the mess and the chaos that is going on in my head, and I'm sharing it with you. I was so tempted when I realized I didn't say my special thing in the intro, which was going to be my catchphrase thing. I forgot to say it. You won't know it now until the second podcast comes out, because hopefully I'll remember to do it then. I was so tempted to stop this and go, nah, I got to restart. But no, I have a rule. One take. It's 1 take, 3 cameras. Let me introduce you to the cameras. So, hello, hey. That's that one over there. This dude, wow, look at that. That's one of those like effects, visual effects. Hey. He scratches his head. No, can't. That doesn't work. Anyway, that dude over there, he's actually across from me because looking at that camera. That's someone that should have featured as one of the trailers. I was gonna do a whole trailer. No one knows about this channel. I don't even know who I'm talking to right now, to be fair. But anyone who's been aware of this channel probably has been like, oh yeah, like a month ago you released a trailer, and there was you weren't even in it. There wasn't even any talking. Like, there's nothing to glean from that trailer. So I was thinking to myself, I should really do a second trailer. And then just because I thought, if I do a second trailer, this thing is not going to happen until I'm aiming for June, beginning of June. But if I want to get a second trailer, like, who's really going to watch a second trailer? I've got like 7 views on the first trailer. But if I just do extra work for a second trailer, like, this thing is not going to be launched till freaking 2035. That's really exaggerated. That's not true. It would have got delayed though. But anyway, this guy over here, I'm pointing that way because there's a camera over there. I'm tired, man. I haven't slept. Yeah, I had a whole thing about who is he? Well, his name is Bob. That's the first thing. That's Bob. How he features in this, I don't know. He's been useful in terms of, like, when I'm sitting over here and testing the lighting and stuff like that, and I'm like, how does it look like when I'm sitting over here with certain lights going on, and then how does it look with it? So I've used that. Say that. Sorry, Bob. I didn't mean to say that. Used you. It's Bob. He's got a name. Have a bit of respect. So I used Bob, but he's sitting over there. I just thought, I always had a plan. I was like, when it launches, I'll just have a headless polystyrene thing. Headless. No, it's complete. It's not headless. It's the complete opposite. That was actually going to feature as part of the trailer, to be fair. I keep calling him Headless Bob, but it's clearly the other way around. Again, maybe I'll make the trailer and you'll fill in the gaps of why I was going to call him. Hey, there's something for a little bit of interaction. What do you think I was going to call him? So I kept calling accidentally for some stupid reason. You just see a head. You just see one head, and you just think of what is that? What was that film? Sleepy Hollow. Johnny Depp. Was it Johnny Depp? He was in all those weird Tim Burton, like, spooky films. Like, I know Christopher Walken was in it. Christopher Walken was the headless horseman in Sleepy Hollow. Anyway, anytime. For me, if a head is disconnected from the body, man, I got to be really careful here. There's so many things that I could say right now. I just go for Headless Horseman. I don't know why. Sleepy Hollow has that much of an impact on me. I don't even think it was Sleepy Hollow. I think that's just like one of those myths, those kind of like archetypes. Hey, this wire is really annoying me. I shouldn't be here. Anyway, there's Headless Bob. Say hello to Headless Bob. Even though he's not headless, he's actually got another name, or is going to use it in the trailer. Post your comments down below. I hate doing this. I don't like doing this. Post your comments down below. Tell me what you think his name was. I want to interact with you, and I'm going to get so much crap. Crap is a word I'm willing to say. I'll explain that in a moment. I'll just explain now. Listen, I'm worried about swearing so much. You know, my niece and my nephews might be watching this. So I'm a little... Oh, the door just went. Oh, man. You may hear some background noise. Hopefully I've sorted out the mic levels on this so that it doesn't pick up all the background noise. Can you hear the birds tweeting? Actually, I can't hear the birds tweeting. I don't think they're tweeting. But there they are. I just heard them. Oh, man, I think there's the neighbors outside as well. Anyway, yeah. What was I talking about? Tangents, man. Tangents. But this is why we're doing this. Okay, 16 minutes in. I'm halfway in through the first half and I haven't even done what I need to do. Anyway, this is TAJ Talks. It's a whole bunch of craziness. It's going to be really poo to begin with, and I'm worried about swearing too much. Okay, you happy? That's what we're doing. Okay, now what I wanted to do usually in the first half hour is okay. And let me just say this. Today, I'm going to be really talking about what TAJ Talks is all about. I'm going to be going through what it is. Was I supposed to do that now? No, second half. Next break. Not half. Second segment. I don't know what to call them. Is it recording? I've just got this fear that I'm going to do this whole 3-hour thing and then something's going to go wrong and I'll be like, oh, I didn't hit record. Camera's recording? Yeah. So... I was nearly so close to just finishing my point. I've forgotten what I was going to say now. I have some water, man. Can you hear me drinking water? Does it pick up? Post your comments below. If you can hear me drinking water. Like, I want to have interaction. I don't know how to do that. That's something that I'm thinking about in the future. How do I do this? Okay, so today, there's going to be talks, right? And there's going to be talks that I'm doing, where it's just TAJ Talks. Because I like to talk. Have you guessed? Have you figured that out yet? I like to talk. Talk too much, perhaps. No one has ever really said. I'm surprised no one has ever really said that in those specific words, like in conversations. I'm very conscious of the fact that I can really just go on and on. I listen. I will listen as well. But when I have my turn to speak in conversations, I take every moment I can and I'm looking at the person's face to see if they're still engaged. And then when I'm seeing like TAJ, you're talking way too much, just hit the bat, hit the ball. What am I trying to say? The ball's on your side of the court, something like that. Anyway, give them the ball, pass them the ball, let them speak, basically. So yeah. Man, I'm already quite tired. This has been an intense couple of weeks, months, and at this stage, I'm actually brain fried. Anyway, so can you see the stupid is coming out? This was my other fear as well. I was like, nah, man, I don't want to. Hey, TAJ, man, why don't you do why don't you do a YouTube channel? I will swear there. You could probably pick up what it was. I don't want to swear. Yeah, hey, why don't you do a YouTube channel, man? Hey, it'd be great, you'd be funny, you'd be... And I'm like, man, if I do a YouTube channel and that's going out everywhere, I'm going to look like a complete idiot. I don't mind you seeing that I'm an idiot when I'm amongst friends and all that. But do I want the whole world to see that? I think I've already done... The damage is done in the first 19 minutes. 19 minutes, the damage is done. I go back to the words that Mike Tyson said to... I'm going to save that again, what he said to Joe Rogan. I just say it now. Joe Rogan, your name got in there first before Jimmy Church. Man, I wanted it to be the other way around, Jimmy. But I've mentioned Joe Rogan's name first. Mike Tyson's is the first name, actually. Talking about names, I said I would mention no names in this first one. So it goes Mike Tyson. That's an interesting. They're all going to be first. I'm constantly going to be analysing. Oh, what was the first name? Oh, what was the first thing? So the first name I mentioned, Mike Tyson. Second name, in terms of radio podcast people, Joe Rogan came before Jimmy Church. And Jimmy Church only came as a result of the fact that I was so disappointed that I said Joe Rogan first, because Jimmy Church is really the one who inspired... Anyway, that's coming up later. Okay, so I've got 10 minutes to go before the end of this first break. Now, what I wanted to do in this first thing is just let you know what we'll be talking about for the next 2.5 hours-ish. is what TAJ Talks is all about. I'll be going through all the reasons, what it is, why I'm doing it, how I did this, maybe interesting for some of you, equipment, all that kind of stuff, and then just general sort of conclusion, evaluation kind of stuff. A bit like a school essay, what do they, describe, analyze, and evaluate. Yeah, there was always these points, you had to when you approach the question. Anyway. Now, in this first segment, usually what I would do and what I want to do, what I want to do is I want to kind of just do a roundup of things that I've noticed in my week. This is going to be hopefully a one weekly podcast show. Did I mention that already? Or maybe a fortnightly one. I don't know yet. See how much sleep I get. But I wanted to just do certain things. Now, the first thing that I wanna mention is I want to kind of mention. Almost every time, I want to definitely mention the news. I'll come to some news topics. Let's do that first, because I was going to mention like a song that I came across. And I just went, man, I heard this song literally just yesterday when I was at work. And I went, that's a nice tune. That's good. You know what it was? What was I'm thinking of the featured artist, Dua Lipa, featuring Thug? Young Thug? I want to say Young Thug. It's Calvin Harris. I'm just looking at it now. Yeah. Dua Lipa, Young Thug, Potion. Nice tune. I liked it. Thing is, I was working at work and I could kind of hear it only kind of faintly in the background. And then I checked it out today and I just went, I'm going to talk about it today at TAJ Talks. I listened to, you might be hearing side sounds, the other room. I need to find a name for this place, by the way. Anyway, it's called The Room. Jimmy Church would have called it The Bunker. Jimmy Church has overtaken Joe Rogan in references, but I need to stop saying Joe Rogan. I think Joe Rogan's winning now. I just said Joe Rogan like 5 times whilst talking about how Jimmy Church is winning. Sorry, Jimmy. So, yeah. What was I saying? Yeah, I think I've got, I'm picking up guest sounds. I can't soundproof the room. Anyway, Dua Lipa, Calvin Harris, Dua Lipa, Young Thug, Potion, new tune apparently, 5 days ago, 7.5 million views. It's got posted 5 days ago. My goodness, I haven't got a hope in it. Hades. Why is it wrong? That's another thing. I'm gonna stay away from it. Why in America? Why do they not like to say hell? They don't like to say hell. Hell is a rude word. You have to say heck or Hades. Anyway, yeah. Oh, losing it. Okay, so that was the tune that I wanted to talk about, Dua Lipa. To be honest, I'm surprised I even picked up on Dua Lipa, as that's going to be my first tune that I'm mentioning today in TAJ Talks. Because actually I've been listening to Radio X. I discovered Radio X. Also, at work, they play Radio X quite a bit. And I picked up some good tunes from there. Foals. Yeah. There was actually a tune that I was really thinking about. I was like, nah, this is the tune I want to talk about. There's several actually. Jamie T, don't play. It played. Yeah, Jamie T, the Old Style Raiders. It's a good tune. Recently came across that. Foals have a number of good tunes going on right now at the moment. But there was another one. Where is it? I'm just going through my history. Oh, man. Yeah, Two Door Cinema Club. I thought that was a Wet Leg, Chaise Long. I'm just mentioning all of them. I was supposed to milk this out. I've got nothing to speak about for the next couple of weeks now in terms of new tunes. To be fair, there's always new tunes. So anyway, yeah, that's the first mention. Just want to mention a new tune. Like I said, this is going to be a terrible first podcast. It's going to be real poo. And then I'm just going to... What the real thing is going through the news articles at the beginning. So I got some stories here I want to just mention. First big news this week is Jubilee. Is that right? Yeah, the Queen's Jubilee. So big celebrations are happening with the Queen's Jubilee. Now in news, Prince Harry is to return to the UK with tail between his legs. That's the headline. There's also something saying dramatic decline in support for monarchy in the decade since the Diamond Jubilee. So apparently support for the monarchy is falling. I just wanted to mention the fact that this week is the Jubilee. I'm not really too fussed about the royal family. I got nothing against them at the same time. But it's obviously a big moment this week in the UK. what I really wanted to do is talk about news such as, hey, Elon Musk. What is going on with the Elon Musk thing? It's, I don't know what he's doing, but he is taking over the world. He is like, I've said this to my friends. I was going to say I've said this before on this podcast. I could not have said this before on this podcast because it's only been going for 25 minutes. He is like Tony, is it Tony Stark? The Avengers, the Marvel comic book. Anyway, Robert Downey Jr.'s character, the Stark guy. Elon Musk is Tony Stark. I'm pretty sure it's Tony Stark. Yeah. Like I said, I am defecating all over these segments that I was supposed to do. So here's it. So anyway, Elon Musk taking over Twitter, crazy stuff. But here was one of the news things that I came across. He said that, oh man, there's so many good articles that I didn't mention. Okay, so Elon Musk gives an ultimatum to Tesla execs: return to the office or get out. All right, I got no time to read through the article, but that's a headline. Something's happening there. People aren't happy within Tesla, apparently, and Elon Musk is like, yeah, well, put up or shut up kind of thing, I guess. Some other headlines: world's biggest plant discovered off Australian coast. But the picture is some underwater thing. Politics: UK's NATO envoy warns Royal Navy may have to battle Russia. Okay, well, at least that would be, we're talking about sea battles. So land-based fights. I'm having to just go over this so much because okay, here's a good one. DeLorean shows off electric car, says it will arrive in 2024. And you see the picture. You know the DeLorean, Back to the Future? I love Back to the Future. But the DeLorean is, they've actually, so they make the actual, that's a genuine car company, right? DeLorean has its own electric car coming out in 2024. So it's like life is now starting to catch up with art in that sense. Here's one. Dashcam. New horror film is so offensive that UK cinema chain View has cancelled every screening. I like my horror films. That makes me want to go and watch that. All right, coming up to 27 minutes. I haven't got long left. So there would be news segments. And then here's another thing. I usually will have like a word for the day. Let me just quickly get my vocabulary words. I'm this weird person where I have vocabulary. Here's a word. All right, the first word on my my vocabulary is, because I just learned new words. Magnanimity. I'm saying that wrong. I think it means something huge. I'm pretty sure it means something huge. Magnanimity. There you go. New word. What does it mean? I ain't got time to actually give you the definition, but there you go. And I'm rushing through this. And then, this is going to go so fast. And then the other one is where I have like a weird kind of like, grammar observation. The one I had, it was actually while I was waking up this morning. And I had this thought in my head and I just went, why do we say, don't you think it should be like this? As an example of a phrase, yeah? But when you take that, the apostrophe from don't you think, what you're saying is, do not you think it should be like this? That doesn't make sense. Anyway, that's the ad music. That means that I timed out. I can only do what I can do. Anyway, we're going to go for a break now. Ad music will play. It's going to be a 2-minute break. And then after that, we will be coming back to discuss what is TAJ Talks. You probably already guessed it, made up your mind so far, but you know what? Whatever it is, it's probably something that I'd be honest with you, I don't really care. Can you tell that I don't care? It is what it is. All right, let's do it. Let's go for an ad break. We'll be back in 2 minutes after the music stops, or fades out, whatever. Anyway, I'm going to go as well. I'm going to get some water or something. See you later. Oh, obviously, 2 minutes. See ya. Okay, welcome back to TAJ Talks. You're here with your host, Taj, like Taj Mahal, but I say Taj. Or you can call me Taj. I'll still turn around. But yeah, it's Taj. That was actually what I was going to say in the first intro. I got it in eventually. Right, so this segment we're going to be talking about what TAJ Talks is really all about. Okay? Yeah. So, sit back, get your... this was actually going to be the main theme tune, this one, playing right now. I switched it around. Actually used this on the trailer, so for all those 7 people who are following me so far, they must have been really upset and disappointed that, oh my god, that wasn't used as the main intro. I thought that was going to be the intro. No, it wasn't. So it got switched around. Anyway, so here I am, and it's not just me here, by the way. You're also going to be hearing next door. It's just the way it is. If I had done this a month ago, the situation would have been different, and I probably wouldn't be. Yeah, but anyway, that's just a good test. I don't know if it's picking up next door. I'm just going quiet to see if it's picking up next door. Yeah, probably not. Which is good. I had to work out the filters. I'm going to get to that bit now. So this, in terms of talking about how much the learning curve has been on this thing to get sound levels and compression and all. I'll come to that in a minute. Anyway, welcome back to TAJ Talks. So we're here for just thank you for joining me for the second half of the first hour. I need to get used to learning what those phrases actually mean. Bottom of the hour, top of the hour. So bottom of the hour. Is that literally the bottom of the hour? So 30 minutes, because it's the bottom of the hour. Top of the hour is 60 minutes? Jimmy Church says it all the time. Anyway, Jimmy Church went to radio school. I'll explain who Jimmy Church is. I know I got to beef up the mentions of his name, to be fair. Inspirations. I just got to give the credit, man. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for JC. That's true. Well, not that JC. There's 2 JCs. It's that JC. Where is he? There. Yeah. Anyway. Thanks. Yeah, no, there's 2 JCs who've had a very profound impact on my life. Jesus Christ is one of them. No, literally. Jesus Christ. I'm you got to be prepared for this. I am not going to shy away from the huge amount that faith has played in my life and how spirituality and, Christianity and spirituality and, did I say spirituality? I think I did. Religion and just God and everything has played a huge part in my journey, and it's just going to be part of this show. So yeah, JC is one of them, but there's the other JC is Jimmy Church. Funnily enough, Jimmy Church. His name. So when I refer to I'm going to get to that later. This is supposed to be what is TAJ Talks. I'm jumping the gun here. I'm going into why is TAJ Talks, because these are inspiration. So let's just calm it down a bit, son. Let's go back a bit. Let me just make sure levels are all good. Looks like levels are good. All right. So what is TAJ Talks? The short answer is I don't know. It's going to be a podcast, though I don't even know really what a podcast... I always thought a podcast was something to do with Apple, because they had... what was it called? iPods. That was where the whole pod thing in my... Correct me if I'm wrong, but the whole pod thing came from iPods. Everyone used to have iPods before they released an iPhone. And on iPods, people could listen to podcasts. Now podcasts have become such a... I think I clipped. Yeah, that would have clipped it. That did. I had to clear that. Now, now all these kind of talk show things, which in the past would have been called radio talk show things, but which those are now available on the internet, and you have various kind of podcasts and guests and all the rest of it. Why are they all called podcasts? Why are they called podcasts? I don't. That's an Apple thing. I don't think they should be called podcasts. I'll be honest with you. I just don't think it should be called podcast. It should get rid of the pod bit. The pod is an Apple thing. Like I explained, iPods. Where else does pod come from? But now that there are so many podcasts out there which have no affiliation with Apple, because you now have other phones that are out there and other, YouTube. It should be called a YouTube cast if everyone's using YouTube. Okay, cast. That's the bit. All right, it's a cast, but what kind of cast? It's a cast of a video. Why are they not called video casts? Vidcast. That sounds terrible, to be fair, but that's what TAJ Talks. What is it? It's a podcast, even though I don't like it being called a podcast. TAJ Talks is a podcast. It's going to be most podcasts are about talking. I don't know. Can you do a podcast where you're like? There's one guy I've seen on YouTube. And it's always YouTube. There's two things that go together, podcasts and YouTube. But really, maybe I'm just limited in my perspective. There's podcasts that exist out there that aren't tied into YouTube. Well, Spotify has podcasts. Joe Rogan has clearly one of the biggest podcasts, but he's not on Spotify. It should be called a Spotcast then. It's just the pod thing annoys me. I'm worried about clipping. So anyway. TAJ Talks, let's just keep it simple. TAJ Talks is a podcast, okay? It's going to be a podcast. All right, what are you going to be talking about? Okay, first of all, who's going to be talking? Okay, on most of the occasions, it will be me. I will be talking like this, just staring down the tunnel, or looking at you over there, and just talking about specific topics, not just randomly. Really? You're probably thinking, really? You're not going to talk randomly, TAJ? Oh, okay. No, seriously. I'm gonna try and have some kind of structure to what I'm going to be talking about, all the rest of it. Yeah. So I'll be looking straight at it most of the time. You may have a few clips over there where I'll be looking from that, and I'll just be like, I'll be saying something stupid. Serious? Why does it always have to be stupid? I sell myself short. I'll be saying something, and then I'll just be like, that's an interesting thought. And then I'll look over there. And then that's when I'll use that one. But I'm rarely going to use... Which way is it? That one. I'm rarely going to use this guy, this angle, when it's just me, because there's obviously no reason. I may have Bob sitting there to just keep me company when it's just a solo podcast. So that's the first thing. There will be TAJ Talks, where it's just TAJ. It's just me, right? Then there will be TAJ Talks when... And this is what I want to do more, actually. More than the actual individual TAJ, well, maybe equal 50-50 kind of thing, is when I have a guest actually sitting in the room where Bob is. So over here, So that will be the other type of podcast that talk that will be going on. That'll just be conversations. Now it may be expert guests. It may be guests who are. I'm wondering if I'm clipping or if I'm speaking loud. Anyway, it may be expert clipping. By the way. It's when it goes above -0 dB. I hope that's right. I've not been doing this long. I don't want it to go clip. I don't want it because it gets distorted. Anyway, you don't need to know that. So, yeah, that will be the other type of podcast when I'll have someone sitting over there. And then I'll be just doing an actual interview. It's conversations. I don't like the word interview. It'll be conversations. We'll be sitting there and we'll just be chatting. And I may have some people who I know are experts in certain areas. So when I was studying, I know some of my lecturers may, if they look at the things that are posted up and they'd be like, oh, okay, I'll come on, but let me just see what you've done first. They'll probably say no, to be fair. Now that I think about it, they'll probably look at some of the stuff. If it goes anyway, it goes in this direction the way it's going so far, I am probably not going to get a lot of my lecturers that want to join me. They'll probably just be like, yeah, I think I'm busy that day. Anyway, so hopefully I'll get some experts of whatever kind. I'm small fry, man. I'm not gonna get Michio Kaku on here, am I? One day, maybe. Who knows? You never know. You never know where this thing is going. You're gonna have to make room, Bob. Sorry. Yeah, so that would be it. I have guests, and then the third type of podcast is when I might do video calls for guests who can't actually make it here in the room. I'm all about face-to-face human interaction. This squeaking chair is really annoying me. Sorry, I gotta move the chair forward a bit. I want to be able to swing, but it's not like that. Yeah. So anyway, so I'll have guests. Now, when I have guests, I just realized something. When I have guests, yeah, I want to do face-to-face interactions. I'm all about human interaction. I'm not a social media person. I don't like interacting with people in ways that are kind of like technological, artificial. Though I do appreciate how amazing Zoom and all that kind of stuff was during the pandemic. But yeah, so I want to do as much as as possible. When I have guests that I'm talking to, I'd love them to be here in the room. I want to call it a studio. It's not. I want to call it a studio. It's not really a studio. It's a room. It's not a studio, but I may start calling it a studio from now. For those who've watched this right from the beginning, you guys realize that it's not really a studio, but maybe from the future going forwards, I'm going to start calling it a studio. Yeah. So that's the third type of podcast that I'm going to be doing. I'll be doing interviews. Now, that's the kind of format of TAJ Talks. Something about it is going to be casual conversations. I'm not really here to get into like deep topics and really like interview like Jeremy Paxman style. I wonder if he's doing a podcast. He really should. He's not on Newsnight anymore. And there are certain things I want to kind of introduce you to something that's sitting behind this laptop screen over here, but I'm going to save that. Let's save that. There's certain things. When I have my first guest, I will show you that there might be certain other dynamics that start to come into play. So yeah, that's what TAJ Talks is going to be about. Now, in terms of the format, right? So it's me chatting about certain topics, talking to people about lots of unscripted, unstructured conversations, and at times I may have guests who are a lot more structured, and we have like expert topics, things that we're talking about. Just checking they're all recording. Now, what are we going to be? We? Yeah, we when there's guests, obviously, but what are the topics that I am going to be talking to people about? Let's put it that way. Varied. I've already mentioned spirituality, God, religion. You know, these things are very important to me, so that naturally, I expect that's going to be what a lot of my conversations are going to be about with the guests that I interview or speak to, mainly because those are people in my circle. But then there's going to be, occasions when, if it's just me talking, I might start to talk about things which are so random, which is just me, just my interest areas, such as, can you tell one of them? This dude? Hey man, I should give him a name as well. Paul the alien? Maybe that's another one of those. Post your comments down below and let me know. What should I call him? Maybe her. Could be a her. He's blue. I think it's a him. Anyway, Larry the alien. Anyway, aliens. I could be talking about aliens. Could be talking about UFOs. That's one thing. I might just do a full-on 3 hours about just things UFO related. I may talk about just reflections in life, just like what I've just learned. I may have had a particularly crazy week, and I'll just start talking about, man, I just reflected and learned, and I learned about, like, for example, the things that I've learned doing this podcast, the amount of learning, self-growth, and all that kind of stuff I've done. So I may be talking about like that. So self-improvement, self-growth, whatever. And other crazy stuff. I'm expecting to talk a lot about time travel. I really like time traveling themes and films. I could be just doing a whole 3 hours on just analyzing a certain genre of film, where I'll just do a whole sci-fi film podcast where I'm just talking. Maybe one particular film I've come across, and I'm just been like, you know what, I'm going to talk about this on the podcast this week, and then I'll start talking about loads of other sci-fi films. And then I'm just trying to think what else. So it's basically that's That's what it is. That's the kind of topics. It's going to be a way for me to explore my own inner mind. I'm just looking at my notes. I'm going to explore I have so many thoughts, and when I speak, it's often what happens when I speak to people. I am just thinking and talking out loud with my thoughts, and I go off on tangents. So I just thought, well, there are specific reasons why I started the podcast. But when I started the podcast, I went, you know what, this will be good for me because I have a lot of stuff going on up here, which is really scrambled. I don't mean that in a. I'm not trying to brag or boast or anything, but like, I have a lot going on. I just mean I have so many things up here, lots of different things and thoughts, and I used to journal a lot more. I don't journal as much. I used to really journal. It was my way of letting the stuff, expressing that stuff. I used to have a real problem with not being able to express, the thoughts in my head or to just express. I wouldn't have a problem when I started talking to people. In fact, that was probably too much, but I talk too much to people. But yeah, I think that's what's going to happen is that I'm basically going to be exploring topics. But as much as I'll be exploring certain topics, I'm kind of like just thinking out loud on where I stand. And I may change my you'll be watching, this is going to be a journey, and I'm inviting you to come and join me on this journey of discovery of information and knowledge and things that are out there, and just making sense of the world that we live in and who we are. And you could probably do that for yourself as you listen, and kind of, just listen to me kind of watch me doing it myself. Like, what is everything about? What does it mean to be human? Talking about podcasts though, wasn't Wayne's World the first podcast? If you excuse the thing podcast for a moment, Wayne's World wasn't that Wayne's World, party on, excellent. Yeah, I think Wayne's World might have been. That was weird because that was a film about Wayne's World, but that was. I need to watch that again. I watched that when I was so young, but I think I've got a suspicion that even before Howard Stern, Wayne's World. I think I'm basically doing what Mike Myers did in Wayne's World. What Wayne did in Wayne's World. Mike Myers was just acting as Wayne's World. But anyway, great. What's happened to Mike Myers? I think his career went downhill after he did that film that grew. I think he flopped after that. He had Austin Powers, and what's happened to Mike Myers? Bring Mike Myers back, I say. He was great. Austin Powers was great. So yeah. Another thing when we talk about like podcasts, I just want to mention this as well. Like Jimmy Church has made the point as well, where he's just like, you know what, radio's dead. And radio, I kept wanting to call this TAJ Talks Radio. When I first had this idea and I started this, I was like, yeah, I'm going to start this thing called TAJ Talks Radio. And I've dropped the radio a bit now because even for me, like maybe for Jimmy Church, JC, he may have, it may have been relevant for him when he started. He's much older than me. So when he first started, radio might have been a thing. So Jimmy Church Radio, he's what he still kind of calls it. Even though he's now starting to realize, well, radio is dead. He doesn't want to go into radio now. Go and check him out, by the way. Have you figured out that I'm a big fan of Jimmy Church? Anyway, just think, should we start the Jimmy Church Appreciation Society? I remember I was doing one of my essays and I kept referring to one particular author, John Walton, and my lecturer at the time when I was presenting on a particular topic, I just kept referring to John Walton says, John Walton says, John Walton says, and the lecturer just kind of was a great guy. I really liked that class and my lecturer then, and he just went, at the risk of starting a John Walton Appreciation Society, let's just, and then he says something like, let's kind of consider that there are other views out there as well. Anyway, I'm probably doing that a bit with Jimmy Church. Jimmy Church is amazing. This is the thing. That's what I'm saying. What is TAJ Talk? I'm going to come to the why in the next segment. Why Jimmy Church is being mentioned so much. And Joe Rogan is another one. Just amazing what these two people have done. They're the only really two. Anyway, we're talking about what TAJ Talks is, not what Joe Rogan and Jimmy Church is. Am I clipping? Nah, I'm good. So that's what TAJ Talks is really about. And yeah, this has been a long time in the making. TAJ Talks has actually been something. I won't go into all the details now, but let me just tell you. In 2013, I made a massive career change. And, I mean, so far removed from everything that I'm doing right now, from this to my actual jobs that I'm doing now. I got 2 jobs. Ooh, look at you got 2 jobs. Anyway, the jobs that I'm doing now, and they are jobs, not careers. One of them could be a career. But I made a career change in 2013. I'll just keep it simple. I left the city, and I just packed it all in. It was one of those moments where I just leapt. Hello to all my city friends, by the way. You know who you are. Hopefully you found out about this somehow. Probably through me. I've probably contacted you on LinkedIn and gone, "Hey, how you doing, man? Hey, it's been a long time. I guess what? I got like this burger. I got TAJ Talks. Come and check it out. We should go for some beers as well." And then we'll never go for beers. But anyway, yeah. So I left my job in the city, and I just and I said, I can't do that. I'm not satisfied. So I want to do this. I want to leap out into the unknown, and I want to find what I really love. I want to do what I really love to do. I want to first discover what it is, because I had no clue. And then I started to go and explore various things. And one of the first things I had in my head was, because back in those days I was listening to now here's another one. Even before Jimmy Church came on the scene, because it goes like this: there was something else, then Jimmy Church, then Joe Rogan. Really, that's the really order, the influences. But around about that time, around about 2010, 11, 12, 13, whilst I'm working in the city, and I'm just so depressed with my life, and I'm just what kept me going was another thing on YouTube. But it's a whole nother thing. It's its own thing. It just started to share some of its videos on YouTube. Coast to Coast AM. My goodness, go and check out Coast to Coast AM. If you like Coast to Coast AM, if you like Jimmy Church, if you like Joe Rogan, you're in the right place. Because that's the kind of thing. But Coast to Coast AM, am I clipping? No. Coast to Coast AM was what I was listening to, coming up to 50. I coming up to ad break. We're coming up to ad. Yeah, I should keep an eye on this thing. Anyway, Coast to Coast AM is what I was listening to back then. And Jimmy Church was one of the guests on Coast to Coast AM. But really, prior to Jimmy Church, the main host of Coast to Coast AM is a guy called George Norrie. And Coast to Coast AM, as you can guess, it's like radio. It's a radio, and it's radio in the US. And they cover all these kind of topics about the paranormal and aliens and just, discoveries in health and science and all this kind of stuff, and technology and future and all this kind of stuff. And Jimmy Church was one of the presenters. George Norrie was the main host. But if you even go back to the earlier days of Coast to Coast, there was a guy called Art Bell. And when I started to get into this whole thing, and I was loving it, and I didn't realize how much I loved this. So when I left my job in the city, one of the first ideas, and I had a couple of ideas. One of them was I was going to start writing children's stories, because I'm a little bit, off, just crazy ideas. I just thought I could make some really funny, stupid children's stories, but the other one was I never did it. I tried to. The other one was I thought I'm going to start my own radio show. That's what I would love to do. I would love to have my own Coast to Coast AM, my own Fade to Black Jimmy Church radio, because Jimmy Church is Fade to Black, by the way, just for those of you who don't know. It's called Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, also known as Jimmy Church Radio kind of thing. So that's what I wanted to do. But this has taken from 2013 to where we are today. So that's almost a decade. And I have been through the meat grinder in terms of life's experiences from that time when I left my job in the city, when I went, yeah, the world is ahead of me. You see that photo down there? There's a photo down there. You're probably not getting it. Can you see there's a picture down there? Let me get that. I'm just going to show this very quickly. The guys will know. This was what they gave me when I left my job in the city. Look at my hair and everything. I had none. I look like Mr. Potato Head. When I left my job in the city. Let's do this properly. When I left my job in the city, I had that picture has so many. I'll explain it to another guest. Will probably get into it. Or I'll get into it. Someone will come and it's a guest and be like, "What's that photo down there, man?" And I'll be like, "Okay." That'll be the time to explain it. I'm rushing it because I know a break is coming up. So when I I left my job in the city, I had so many different ideas, and they gave me that picture, and it kind of like summarized all the various things that I had mentioned to them during the time I was working with them, and I'd be sitting there in client meetings being like, you know what, guys, I really want to be a lion tamer. I never used to say that in front of clients, but, you know, after the clients had left and me and my colleagues were sitting there, I don't even think I actually said that in a meeting. I remember kissing a guy's bald head. He looked like Richard O'Brien from Crystal Maze. Somehow that got tied into being a lion tamer. I don't know why. I think there's a lion tamer, or there's a lion. It's connection with the lion, somehow. Yeah, I was just kissing that bald guy's head. We went to this massive work do, you know, one of those training things. I remember that everyone was there, and there was this really flamboyant guy, and he was just like, yeah, we're going to do all this stuff, blah, blah. And so he was obviously the entertainer for the day. But then I just stepped up a level, and I was just, because I was bored, and I just, I grabbed his head like Barthez. Do you remember the World Cup 98? And the football players always used to kiss the head of Barthez, his bald head, I don't know, for luck or something. It ended up being one of those things. This has really gone off on a weird tangent. This particular section, if you just come in and just started listening and went, yeah, I was kissing some bald guy's head, you'd probably... Anyway, can you hear the birds? I think it's dark outside now. Anyway, so that's basically what I wanted to do this for a long time. It's been just under a decade. And finally, I'm here. Yeah, you can hear the birds. Why are the birds chirping when it's dark outside? Anyway, ruining my podcast, videocast, whatever you want to call it. Hey, saved by the music. So, there we go. That's time for another music break. You have been listening to TAJ Talks. I have been explaining a little bit about what TAJ Talks is. And we are now into the talk proper. You know, we're covering what the whole podcast thing and starting a podcast is all about. Coming up after the break, we will be talking about why I started the podcast, which I kind of strayed into. Kind of ruined it. Alright, so, gonna have a break for about 2 minutes. It's not gonna be about 2 minutes, it's exactly 2 minutes. That's what I spent so much time doing today. Join us, say us, join me, I'm getting it all wrong. Join me after the break, and we'll be doing some more talking. Ruined it. welcome back. Welcome back to TAJ Talks. Gotta make sure my headphones are on the right way. Something has changed. Yeah. I think the sound is slightly different now. I don't know why. Alright, so we're back again. TAJ Talks. We're into hour 2. Thank you for joining me, staying with me. I'm going to have to change this music. It's too mellow for me. Hasn't got much of a kick. It's all good. Still learning. Alright. Got to make sure that I'm not peaking. Ooh. Yeah, man. I think I am. Right. So, back again. Hour 2 of TAJ Talks. And this whole talk is about starting a podcast, starting this podcast. So let's do it. Yeah. Let's do it. Right. So when I think about talking about why I started this podcast, I actually kind of started going into that in the previous segment. I started already kind of touching upon what it was that led me to go into this when I spoke about my job in the city and leaving my job in the city to start this. Now, because that's really why I started it. But why I started going into that is that at that time, what I wanted to start was a radio show. So what I ended up starting, which is now what I'm going to talk about, is a podcast, and this is where I'm going to explain to you why I started a podcast. Now, for certain reasons, just talking about why I started a podcast, it's kind of important to say why I didn't start it until now. Why didn't I start TAJ Talks back in 2013 when I left my job in the city? Why is it taking this long? Just want to make sure. I feel as if something's changed. I had to do something during the break. I had to adjust certain things. I'm just looking at cameras and all that kind of stuff. I hope everything's in the right place. And I think something seems strange about the sound. I'm worried, man. I'm worried. I think something might have gone wrong. Sorry. Right. So why I started this was because, number one, let's just keep it simple. What I was talking about was who inspired me to do this. That's the first thing. Why I started a podcast kind of follows on from what I was saying before, because of the inspirational people. And let's just put it in order. Coast to Coast AM, Art Bell, George Norrie, Jimmy Church, Joe Rogan. Now, those, I'm just going to refer to that from now on. If ever I refer to it, it will be JRC, because that's Jimmy Rogan Church. So to all my Jimmy Rogan Church people out there, that's a useless shot. That's not really going to be used in this thing. To all my Jimmy, my hair, man. I'm just looking at my hair as well. How's it all over the place? My JRC people, my Jimmy Rogan Church people out there, if you're into all of that stuff, and the reason why I'm saying Jimmy Rogan Church and not really referring to Coast AM, is because Jimmy kind of represents for me the Coast to Coast bit, because that's the real link to Coast, and so Coast to Coast is linked in with Art Bell and obviously George Norrie. So, man, come on, what are you doing to me? Jimmy Church is really representing the Coast to Coast side of it, so I just summarize it all up. Jimmy Rogan Church. That is the influence of this podcast. Now, the thing about it is that this is a podcast. So why hasn't it happened until now? Short answer, because now it is possible. And that's where you have to really kind of appreciate who Joe Rogan is and what he's done. And I have to sort of share that and give credit to that. You may thinking, he's mentioning Jimmy Church so much, he's mentioning Joe Rogan so much. Why? Because I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for Jimmy Church. And that's a very specific thing as well. I genuinely specify Jimmy, because I may have listened to Coast AM and enjoyed Coast AM, and listened to George Norrie and enjoyed it, and I just would have enjoyed it. But there's something about what Jimmy did when he did his own show, Fade to Black, which was like on the side of Coast AM. In fact, I think he started Fade to Black before. Fade to Black was what actually started, and then the people from Coast to Coast, the legends that are at Coast to Coast, contacted Jimmy Church and said, "Hey, would you like to be one of the main presenters on Coast to Coast AM?" And he went, "Man, I listen to Jimmy. I listen to Coast, and you guys are asking me to come and join." Anyway, so Jimmy. But Jimmy, if it wasn't for Jimmy doing his own Fade to Black show, I don't think that I had even begun to have had the idea of doing my own. Because I went, wow, look, Jimmy works for Coast to Coast, right? Cool. But then I was aware that Jimmy Church started his own radio show. And I went, wow, look at that. Jimmy's got his own radio show. And that's where the first idea came, when I went, wow, I want to start my own. So really it was Jimmy and the way Jimmy did it, and the way Jimmy still does it, and he's amazing because he's still moving ahead with the game. He's trying to get it. He's now moved into like video. He's doing video now, which is why all this video stuff is here. But the whole video thing, there was a time when I was listening to Coast AM and Jimmy Church, and it was just audio. It was just audio. And you're just listening to something on the internet through YouTube, but you're just listening to audio. Then you started to see the rise of people, or someone very specific. Podcasts started to rise, but I then came across Joe Rogan. And Joe Rogan was the first person. I didn't even know who Joe Rogan was. When I first came across Joe Rogan, I'll be honest with you, I didn't like Joe Rogan. I didn't. There was something about him I just didn't like. And then I started, and I think it might have been the connections with some of the guests that I was listening to on Jimmy Church's Fade to Black show. And then some of those guests started to kind of cross over and appear on Joe Rogan's show. Or there might have been references. Jimmy may have even referenced a few times before I even was aware of Joe or something like that. Jimmy may have made reference to Joe. I can't, you know what? It's a haze because these things were happening every day or every week I was listening. And when I first came across Jimmy, I can't even tell you. When I first came across Coast to Coast, I couldn't tell you. When I first came across Joe Rogan, I couldn't tell you. I just know there were certain transition periods when I started to be aware of Jimmy and then Joe. So Joe, however, was this person who started doing like the video stuff. And as I say, Jimmy's amazing because he's moving forwards with the times, and he changes and evolves, which is a lot about what this show is going to be about. Program, show. I said before, I remember, you are listening to TAJ Talks, but you're actually watching TAJ Talks as well as listening. Anyway, so Joe Rogan kind of made this whole idea of, so I have the idea of I want to start my own thing because of Jimmy, but I realize doing a radio program is going to be really expensive to get out the licensing and the costs for licensing, all that kind of stuff. So I thought, it's not doable. I don't have the funds and the money to do this. So back in 2013, when I left my job in the city, I'm scratching my head now. Did I already talk about this at the end of the last segment or not? Kind of overlapping. But anyway, I didn't start my timer. That's terrible. I should do it now because I got 20 minutes now. So, anyway, Jimmy, God, just lost myself. Yeah. Wow, that's terrible. Silence on radio. Never do it. You know, this is not radio, but that's the point. This is not radio. This is a podcast. Now, Joe started to show that a guy can appear from pretty much nowhere. I didn't have any knowledge of who Joe Rogan was. I didn't know that he was this MMA guy. I found out about that he had this previous life, which kind of was then led to this podcast thing. But what Joe showed was that anyone can really start a podcast. And when you listen to Joe Rogan, actually, about how he started the podcast, actually, he got his idea from Tom Green. Remember Tom Green from those, the crazy Tom Green? He was a bit like, he was the forerunner to Jackass. You know, before Jackass was around, there was Tom Green. And Tom Green was doing weird stuff with pythons and just strange things he was doing with spiders. You ever see that film, Road Trip? Yeah, Tom Green is playing Tom Green in Road Trip, pretty much. He not really, but the character is pretty much Tom Green playing himself. But anyway, Tom Green had this idea to start podcasts. So Tom Green started a podcast. Tom Green is actually who we should be thanking for. According to Joe Rogan, is who we should be thanking for the podcasting. Jimmy Church is kind of moving away from the radio thing into podcast territory. But anyway, so when Joe Rogan came along and showed that it was possible to do this, and you could pretty much come from nowhere and do it, that's when I first started thinking, okay, I need to start. I could now actually do what I've always wanted to do. I could start my own thing here. It might not be radio, but I could start my own thing, and it could be very, very similar to what Jimmy Church is already doing, because Jimmy Church was my inspiration. Jimmy Church was the inspiration. Joe was the, Jimmy Church is the why am I doing this kind of thing. Joe is the how. Joe shows how you can do it. And so that's why I started this show, basically. The JRC influence. Now, that aside, because I don't want to labor that point too much, I'm aware of the time. So the other side of it as well is talking about me personally. Where was I at compared to 2013 compared to where I was in the start of this year? Because this whole thing started. It started in February of 2022. So this year, I finally pulled the trigger and I started just buying equipment. This, cameras, changing I'll talk about how I did this in the next segment. After we have, after the break, we'll be going into how I started this podcast, what I had to do and the things I had to do. But when I started to move in this direction to make this thing come alive, turn this vision into reality. Sorry for the squeaking chair. Oh man, I'm going to knock something over at some point. The chair keeps moving back. And the wire keeps falling off, man. I don't like the wire down there. I've got to think of a way to get this thing. Now, when I started to and my hair, I just don't like the fuzziness of my hair. Now, I should really sort this. Now, when I started to, let's get serious, man. When I started this in 2022, this had been something that had been sitting. It was just there, and it was the idea of some years ago I was aware of Joe Rogan. Probably around about 2016, I came across Joe Rogan. Maybe 2017, around about that time, 15, 16, 17, I started to be aware of Joe Rogan now. And even then, I didn't really have that idea that I'm going to do my own podcast. Then around about 2018, I think it was, 2017, 2018, maybe 2019, I started to I was in the middle of my studies, coming towards the end of my studies, and I started to think more about what I was going to do when the studies came to an end. And that was the issue for me why I eventually did this. Because when the studies did come to an end, that big fear that I had always been anticipating materialized, which is I have no purpose. Like, I genuinely don't have a purpose that fulfills me. My job is only part-time. Luckily, when the studies came to an end, they came to an end pretty much as COVID kicked off. So as COVID kicked off, I had this time now to not feel so guilty about the fact that, you finished your studies. Because at one point when I was doing my studies, I was thinking, you know what, I could just keep studying forever. I'll just go and study another course. I might even enter an academia and just, because when you're doing studies, you have essays to do, you have goals to do. I think that's also one of the things. Having goals and things to do is just what, at one point I just realized that's what I need to do in order to fulfill my purpose in life. I have a sense of meaning and fulfillment. It's just doing stuff. And when you've entered into studies, you feel like you're actually doing something quite meaningful, and you start to kind of say, like, this is what I should be doing. Well, anyway, I started to struggle a little bit with the concept that when the studies are over, TAJ, you just, unless you're using those studies to then go into that specific area that I was going to go into when I first started studying, the studies are you're just hiding behind it. So I was hiding behind studies. I'll tell you something else I was hiding behind. I was hiding behind a relationship that I was in at the time. I'm not going to get too personal, but I was in a relationship, and I realized that at some point that relationship was also kind of like my way of not having to deal with the fact that I wasn't really doing what I loved to do. I hadn't found what I wanted to do, and I may have had some ideas of what I wanted to do, but I just thought, but if that will never really happen. So I just started to throw myself more into that relationship, and yeah, didn't that relationship, thankfully, in a weird way, nothing against that, man, just went out my hair. I'm sorry, I know that looks a bit. It's just the hair is just it moves, it comes out. I'm trying to keep it. And it just starts to kind of expand by itself. And I look myself every now and then in the cat. I'm like, what the hell is going on with that? Anyway, I don't mean anything bad about the person who I was in that relationship with. That's nothing about them. It's something about me. That classic saying, innit? It's not you, it's me. Yeah, that whole relationship, I was hiding behind that. And I just, because what I wanted to do, when that relationship came to an end, I made certain choices. I went, right. The studies came to an end pretty much the same time that the relationship came to an end, and there was this huge vacuum. Now, I was staring at the same vacuum and deep, dark abyss pretty much that I was looking at when I decided to leave my job in the city, because I realized I willingly jumped off that cliff edge into the unknown. And that's a scary thing to do. But also, something told me, it's only when you go into the unknown that you're going to find what you're looking for. Because everything else is just a distraction. Everything else is a reason to stay on the cliff edge, not to make that leap of faith. Relationships were keeping me on that cliff edge. The studies were keeping me on the cliff edge. Certain jobs I had and the idea of certain jobs, I was like, that job could be what I want to do. Just holding on to that job was keeping me on a cliff edge. So when COVID hit and everyone was kind of taking stock of what they were doing, having to find things to keep them occupied, to give them purpose and meaning, even just on a day-to-day basis, that was one of the things that I said, I purposely embraced really depressing times. I think from 2020 to 2021, that going from the middle of 2020, when my studies came to an end, I finished my dissertation, and then going all the way through to the end of 2021, I just was lost in the sense of what next? What next? It's like I just got to this point where I was thinking, I'm just trying to find things to keep myself occupied, but I don't know what I'm doing. Now, in many ways, starting this podcast in February of 2022 was kind of similar to that. I don't really know if this is what I want to do. I don't know if this is it. All I know is that when I started a job. When my studies came to an end, I had a part-time job, but now no more studies because there's no more part-time studies. So I have a part-time job, which I could do remotely during COVID. And thankfully, that's all you could do, because you couldn't actually go out. But when in 2021, the economy opened up again, and I realized, okay, I can now actually do something else. I had this idea that was telling me, well, you either do this part-time job or you got to find a full-time job. But the thing is, you find a full-time job, you're starting to commit to something, which you got to decide what you want to do now, man. What do you want to do? Because a lot of these jobs required going back to studying. And I thought, I'm done with studying. I don't want to study anymore. So when everything opened up in 2020, the economy, I got another job. And this was just a job to pay off something that I'd purchased, which was also a dream of mine, by the way. I purchased this I won't go into it too much now, but I purchased something during the COVID thing. Some stuff had happened, and it put me in a position where I was like, well, now I can do this thing, and it's what better time, I'll tick off one of those boxes. Not that I'm a box ticking kind of person in life, but there are certain dreams I want to fulfill. And I went, man, this is the perfect time to do it. So I had to pay that off. So I got a job to pay off that thing. But the thing about the job was, it's the kind of job, and those who work in that place, they know, if they're watching this, some of them, I've mentioned it to you that I'm doing this, so you probably were watching this. They know that job it's about the monotony. It's just, you just accept it. It's repetitive. You just do what you have to do, but you make money. But now I'm making a little bit of extra money. I'm paying off my thing. I paid off my thing fairly quickly. And now I'm thinking, well, okay, now that's paid off. Again, goal achieved, purpose achieved. But it was a short-term goal, short-term purpose. I paid off that thing. And I thought, well, do I keep the job? Because that's the only reason why I got this thing. Why I got the job. And then something was telling me it's more than just the job. There's something else that you need to, you need to, number one, you need to learn certain skills, like skills of perseverance and endurance. I don't enjoy the job, but something was telling me, just stick at it, because you're coming up against a challenge here, something that is feeling painful and uncomfortable, but learn to go through this. And so I just powered throughout the rest of 2021 with this new job, the second half of 2021, pretty much. I think I got a few things wrong there, actually. I finished the studies in 2020. Yeah, finished the studies in 2020, around August of 2020. And I'm sitting with one part-time job up until around about 2021, May 2021, yeah. And then May, June 2021, I take this other job. I now got 2 part-time jobs. One of the part-time jobs I really enjoy. It's the area I'm in. To a certain extent, I've been in that job for a while, doing the same thing as well. So it's kind of getting a bit like that as well. But still, I like the industry. It's a very creative industry. I've always wanted to go in a creative kind of industry. So now 2021, I got this 2, but this newest job that I've taken has made me start to worry that this could be it. I could just be working with patches of jobs here and there, and kind of just making money, but not really knowing what to do with it. And part of me was just saying, just be grateful, thankful to be alive, to have the opportunity to have jobs, to be living in this country and all the rest of it. When I look at the world and certain other parts of the world where, I could have been born in so I'm just looking at life and just trying to extract meaning and just being like, just be content, just be happy, Taj. But something just kept kind of telling me as well, just niggling away. But what are you here for? What's your purpose? Which is a question that I've always asked. It wasn't just my time in the city where I felt like, I'm having a crisis moment of working in the city. No, this was always a question. What am I here for? What am I here to do? Funnily enough, the lady I was telling you about, that picture about the guys from work, they gave me that drawing. The lady, I got in contact with her some years ago, and I just said thanks to her for drawing that picture. I always meant to do that, but there was a good couple of years after, maybe 5 years after I'd been given that as a gift. And you know what she said to me? She actually responded and said something along the lines of, Taj, it's not about trying to find yourself or trying to find what you want to do is half the journey of doing what you want to do. She said it better. I need to find out what she said. But she said something which essentially, and I will mention a name. I know I said I wasn't going to mention names here and do shout outs and all this kind of stuff. Because if you mention a name, someone was going to say, how come you didn't mention my name on your first podcast, man? It's your first podcast. You mentioned that guy's name, but you didn't mention my name. So anyway, but there's one person's name that I am going to mention. Auntie Heather. You will find out about Auntie Heather for sure. You're going to find out about Auntie Heather. She is she is my oracle. She is my Yoda. She is my Gandalf. She's an amazing person. But she would say something about, like, Taj, it's not about the destination. It's about the journey. So that's always been a question in my life. What am I here for? And I've started to realize it's more just about the journey. Enjoy the journey. It doesn't matter if what you're doing is what you actually want to do, what you think you want to. Just go and enjoy the journey. Just do things. So as I'm coming towards the end of 2021, and I'm working at this place and this new place, and it's getting a bit repetitive. I fulfilled the main reason of paying off this purchase that I wanted to pay off. You got this job for. English is going all over the place, sorry. And then I came towards the end of 2021 and I was just going, right, hold on to this job for the sake of just learning new skills. And then when I started 2022, a few people, some weird coinky-dinks started happening. I started to have some conversations with certain people at that place, started meeting some new faces. They started to drop they started asking some random questions, which kind of tied into the thoughts I had in my head. Like, what do you want to do in life? Like, what's your purpose? What do you want to do? And I started to have these kind of conversations with several people. I got in contact with a good friend of mine, another key individual that you're going to learn about. Again, I won't mention his name but we got back into contact, and he'd always been encouraging me to do this kind of stuff. And when I got in contact with him, the idea started to come back into the forefront of my mind. The whole start your own radio station, start your own something, and the whole podcast idea is now in my head. Now, when I came to end of 2021, I thought, right, you know what? I think this is a new year where, interesting enough, the year of the tiger, that's me. And I thought, this has got to be my year. 2022 has got to be my year. And I went, I have to do something. And it really, why did I start this podcast? Because doing something is better than doing nothing. Literally, that was what it was. I even remember saying to my housemate, you'll meet the housemates as well. I said to my housemate, I went, you know what? I was sitting there at the table one day. I just went, you know what? I'm just going to start a stupid podcast. That's it. I'll start this, because I've been mentioning the podcast a few times. So I was like, I'm going to start the stupid podcast. And he even said to me, he just went, don't call it a stupid podcast, man. He was like, if you're going to do it, but just enjoy it. It's going to be great. And I feel as if a lot of people have been kind of seeing this, saying, Taj, this would be good for you, and you'd be good at it, and it would be great. And why hasn't it happened till now? Number one, because, as I say, it wasn't able to happen. Number two, I just felt as if, like, is this the thing that I'm supposed to do? And now I'm like, just do it. Just do something. The other thing as well, I'm really worried about the whole exposing myself. Ugh, man. So I'm not a social media person, but there's a real worry. So I'm just going to be such an idiot on this thing. I'm trying not to be. Anyway, ad music's playing. That means we're going for a break. I'm going to try and sort out this puffy here. Doing something crazy. I had more things to say on why I was starting this podcast. Kind of waffled way too much. That's why it's called TAJ Talks, isn't it? Anyway, I think I covered most things. Oh yeah, I forgot to say. I ain't got time. It's got something to do with something weird. This is like my Matrix rebirth. Matrix Revolution. The new films came out anyway. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Join me for more TAJ Talks. Welcome back to TAJ Talks, you're here with me, TAJ. Like I said before, it's TAJ, not TAJ. But I'll forgive you if you want to call me TAJ. I'll still turn around. I think I said it before. I'll still turn around. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, man. So we're back. We are at, we're in the second hour. Second half of the second hour. Yeah, like I said, pretty a bold, ambitious move to do the first podcast as a 3-hour thing. Oh well. Alright, well in this one, we're going to be talking about how I started this thing. This might be for you guys out there, guys and girls who are like into the technicality side of things, but I guess I'm not just going to talk about equipment and all the rest of it, to be honest. I bought this stuff so long ago. I bought all this stuff. I started buying the first thing, like I said, when I was sitting there in February of 2022, when I decided, right, I'm going to pull the trigger, I'm going to do this thing. I started to just, I bought, the first thing I bought was this. I think this was amongst one of the first sort of Amazon purchases. This, and I think that mic as well. I had a worry at one point where I thought, oh no, the mics sound slightly different from each other. That's my first tip about, this is going to be like how I started it, but also things that I want you guys to, if you think you're starting your own one, like just little things that I can share with you, like advice. If they sound too different, if they sound like a little bit different from each other, don't worry about it, because it's probably good, because you probably want to have a slight contrast between your voice and the guest voice. Obviously, if there's a huge difference, one sounds really tinny, then you might need to consider. Anyway, so I bought mics. What did I buy? Oh man, I bought the cameras, and I didn't buy professional cameras. These are like real cheap budget cameras. So actually, these aren't the original cameras that I first bought. I actually changed these. This because the first ones I bought didn't have like white balance. So that's good. You need to have white balance. Certain features. This just had more features. Features. ISO. Certain things you need to be aware of. White balance, exposure settings. These are things that you just need to be aware of. Just buy cameras that have a few more options. But these are just basic, like camcorders. These are not your Sony Cyber Shots or your Canon something, the big chunky monkeys. No, these are just normal sort of camcorders, flip out screen. You could probably see from the quality, these aren't the best cameras, but that's what they do. They're doing the job. Audio, though, however, I would say audio is the main thing. So when I talk about how I started this, the main thing that I really wanted to focus on, which was my advice, what was given, get the audio right, because that's what people are really going to be. They're not always going to be watching you on the screen when they're watching this, but they will be listening to you. So anyway, I'm kind of straying into giving advice, and that's not really the purpose of this segment. That's kind of towards the end, ish. Well, I suppose this segment does make more sense, Anyway, the beginning of the third hour, we'll be talking about the challenges that I had in starting this. But really, in this segment, what I'll be talking about is how. Okay, how I did this was the first thing I thought about doing was I need to create a studio. So I needed to create the visual for what I wanted. So I always had it in my head where I just went, okay, I want to create the whole Joe Rogan type vibe. So if there was someone sitting where Bob is sitting right now, I wanted to capture that shot. So I went, I need one camera there. I need one camera here where it's filming me. And then I need obviously a camera to film the guest. So that's the first thing. I had to decide what kind of thing I wanted to do. Then when I decided that, I realized, okay, techno equipment, 3 cameras. Okay. Mics, obviously 2 mics. What kind of mics? Just so you know, gonna throw it out there, condenser mics or dynamic mics. Okay, you gotta put your head around that. You gotta know the difference. I've actually got one of each. So for me, I've got a dynamic mic sitting in front of me. It's channeling the sound very specifically. So if I go over here, you can't really hear me too much. If I come around here, then it kind of, so if it's picking up in a very localized area. Now that one where Bob is sitting, that one's a condenser microphone, and the reason why I got a condenser microphone over there is because at sometimes I'm envisioning having on that little sofa bit 2 guests, maybe even 3. So I wanted to get a microphone that would pick up. They're going to have to kind of move it around a bit as they talk. It's not ideal, but I wanted to get a microphone that would pick up on a bit more of a broader, funnel range rather than the condenser mic, which is a very narrow thing. So I wanted a bit more of that. So that's something that I had to think about. Now, one of the major things in how I did this was, as I say, creating the look and the feel and the environment. And this is basically just I don't want to ruin the illusion, but basically this is not the place that it used to be. This is not. This is all being created in this very specific way. And it took me a long time to well, actually it happened very quick. The idea that I had came on one day in February. I remember the exact date, the 15th of February. I won't go into all the personal reasons why I remember that day. It wasn't actually with good reasons, but on the 15th of February, and I was sitting with, again, the individual. I'm not going to mention names, but someone has helped me with this huge amount on the technical aspects. Do you know what? I am going to mention his name. Ravi. Yeah, I've mentioned, so that's, in terms of the circle, there's two names, Auntie Heather and Ravi. Ravi, I'm going to have to, Rav, you're probably watching this now, probably thinking, we need to talk about your thing, because when it comes to, I said you're the producer, but you're not really the producer, are you? Because I'm doing the producing. I'm going to be doing the post-editing stuff here. We need to talk about it, man. We need to find a new label for your title. Label sounds terrible. Don't put labels on me! We need to find a new title for you. I was thinking about it, Rav. I think, sorry everybody, I'm just talking to Rav right now. I think you are more technical consultant or technical director. I think that's your thing, Rav. I think you're technical director or technical consultant. Technical consultant. I think you're a technical consultant. I don't think you're the producer though, man. You can only be producer if you do the post editing. You know what, mate? I'd love if you could do the post editing and put all this stuff together for me, because it would save me so much time. But I realize you're doing your own stuff as well, man. But anyway, Ravi, when I was sitting with Ravi, how did I get on to mentioning Rav? Anyway, yeah, we just sat there on 15th of February, and I just said to him, I went, Rav, I'm going to start a podcast. Oh, not I say a podcast. I'm going to start the podcast. That's it. Because Rav had been telling me for so long that I should do something like this. In fact, go to YouTube right now and type in "What's Its Glasses." All right, type that in and look for my face, but looking more like Mr. Potato Head. Not literally, but basically I've got a shaven head. Look for me on in YouTube. Type in "What's Its Glasses." That was made by Rav. And that was I remember working with Rav in the earlier days when Rav was doing all this stuff. It's a long story. I'm going to save that for when I have Rav as a guest on the show. And here's the thing. Rav is not actually going to be a guest because he's part of this whole production process, consulting on this podcast. He's had a huge input. He's been consulting on equipment, lighting. He's been someone who's, I can't really call him a guest. He's not a guest. He is actually, if Joe Rogan has a Jamie, then TAJ Talks has a Ravi. That's the closest thing I can put to it, though. I would love for Rav to be more present here. Certain reasons, can't go into all of it, not right now. But Rav won't always be, very rarely will he actually physically be able to be here. So Rav's always going to be kind of coming in on Skype calls and all that kind of stuff. So we'll do that as one of the ways to do things. Anyway, yeah, so Rav, we sat there and we just decided to do this. And one of the first things I had to do was just, I came back from that day when I was sitting there with Rav, and I just went, I'm going to do it, man. I'm just going to do the podcast. That's it. And I just turned to him. We're sitting there in a Starbucks, and I just went, tell me what mic should I buy? Tell me what cameras I should buy. I'm just going to buy it. And he just went, Rav being Rav, so cool and calm and collected, just went, yeah, okay, you want to get this mic. He didn't even like make a big fuss, like, oh, you're gonna do it. No, I think Rav had been seeing this coming, and I know he's wanted it to happen for years. He's been such an inspirational person for me, such an encourager for me, a bit like Auntie Heather. He's only ever wanted good things for me. And he wants to see me fulfill my potential. Rav's an amazing guy. You're gonna meet Rav. So he just casually just went, yeah, all right, you need to get this mic, these cameras. You probably want to get some lighting, boom arms, these things. Hear the boom arm. So all this, and I remember, just saying to Rav, I was like, man, if I get it, I want to get a certain kind of mic. It's got to look a certain way. And he's, he was more concerned about, well, Taj, make sure it sounds right, make sure you're getting the condenser on the microphone, either a condenser or dynamic, you got to think about. And I was like, nah, man, but it's got to have like grills over it, and it's got to look like one of those things I can pull it down on this little thing, and I can look like Jimmy Jack. Anyway, Rav, very patient individual with all. He puts up with a lot of my impatience. Anyway, so the how, I guess in some ways what I'm really saying is how TAJ Talks has come about is here's one of the things. One of the guys from work actually tell me these things don't happen by one person doing it. You've got to have a team around you. And my team might not be that big, but that's one of the things. How TAJ Talks has happened is by having some sharing this with someone and helping someone to make your, that has been quite a difficult thing for me to learn as well. Something that's been in my head for years, an idea, a project, an idea, and then trusting that into someone else's hands and letting someone else have the input. It's been a huge thing for me. But I don't know why I never pulled the trigger on this with Rav earlier, but it has been. He's such a great guy to work with, but it has been an amazing learning experience, just learning about how to be a better person. I think Rav helps me. And there are the guys, the lads, you know who you are. Rav is part of a bigger group, but there are the guys, the lads, and they've all been part of that whole journey as well, where I hope that they're seeing this and tuning in. I know eventually they'll see this, but shout out to the lads. You know who you are. My goodness, the craziness is... You guys have seen the craziness. You guys got you got your own private shows for the last couple of years that we used to hang out a lot more before, but now this is going public, guys. So anyway, that's how it's started, and it just started with reorganizing this room. So reorganizing the room happened pretty much that same day. I came back from Rav's meeting up with Rav. I was all fired up, and I just went, right, I'm going to start this today. But to clean my room, oh my goodness! It's not that my room's dirty. It's very unorganized though, and I had to really, it was kind of a good thing that I had to reorganize everything and move these huge bookcases with a huge amount of books on there. What's going on here? And, this sofa over here, move that over there to where it is, and these things hanging up on the wall, all this kind of stuff. I mean, this is all done for the podcast. But this is also my room, I'm living in this, and I'm living in this now. That's also another thing about how this podcast has come about. Well, it's come about by tripping over. At one point, I couldn't see the floor. I just had, and it's often the case. I don't know what it is about me, but I sort out that this is a clear desk right now. If I go away from this desk for 10 seconds, I'm telling you, someone is putting things on this without me even doing it. I don't know how it happens. It just starts to get cluttered. It's not me. I've only been away for 10 seconds. I got like little weird, gremlin fairy things that are popping up. That was a weird thing that started happening to me. I'm going to talk about that kind of stuff. I remember putting something somewhere in a room, in my room. And I swear, man, that thing was there. And then I knew where I put it. And I come back, I couldn't see it. But to be fair, if you could see some of the stuff I'm looking at as well, I have just way too many things. I got so many things. It's easy for things to get lost. I'm blaming it on little fairy, elf, goblin type things, but I don't really need to. Maybe that's where the whole idea of fairies and elves and goblins came from. Maybe they just came from people who couldn't keep their rooms clean. They just blamed it on fairies and elves and goblins. But then that being the case, then it would probably be that you have a lot of unorganized people living in Scandinavia, because that's where elves come from, isn't it? Don't know. Tangents. Did I clip? I'm surprised I didn't clip on that. I'm starting to enjoy this now. I think I'm kind of, yeah. I be honest with you, when I was talking about why I started this, that previous segment, got a bit serious. I was starting to be, well, man, I just didn't have my purpose in life. I don't know what I was doing, man. His voice was telling me what to do. Anyway, yeah. The other side of it as well is that there's not really much more to say. I wish I'd planned this segment better. There's not much more to say about how I started this. Yeah, I bought some equipment, I bought some cameras, I bought some mics, and that's it. Bada bing, bada boom. Bought lighting. You gotta buy lighting. You know, these sort of like these. They got like little LED dots and they're really bright. That one's really bright. If I stare directly into it and then I stare back, I can't see the camera now. It's bright. Had a bright lighting. Lighting has been okay. I want to talk about this, about how this has happened as well. I've had to do the learning on this. This is really the next thing. The challenges. The next segment I'm talking about challenges. My goodness, the challenges of getting this thing sorted out. Yikes. Man, I have got so much more time. I got like a full 10 minutes, man. Anyway, what else can I say? Shall I just cut this bit? Bring it. I can't cut. I'm not going to edit. Let me talk a little bit about what I didn't say. Like, nah, that's terrible. See, this is why they say your first podcast is going to be poo. I just haven't planned the content right for this. I didn't get time. Man. I have been up crazy amounts working on the intro music, working on the lighting. You think that this line just happens like that? It doesn't just happen like that. So again, but this is all how you got to get the lighting sorted out. So I have to test this. These LED lights have about 10 different options for brightness level. And then with each brightness level, alongside brightness level, you also have options for the Kelvin, which is how, I think it's Kelvin. How many kelvins? I think it's kelvins. I'm pretty sure it's kelvins, which is talking about the warmth of the light. So I have to go through, I had to test, and then you have to record it. I'm going into what I'm talking about in the next segment, which is about the challenges of this thing. So I'm not going to say much more, but that's another thing that I've had to do, is I've had to work out how to get the lighting. Was the thing that was really screwing me over. I was just thinking, man, how do I to test it? Now, aside from that, neon lights have also played a big thing. So how have I started TAJ Talks? By I'm not really answering the question here, am I? I'm going to be losing you guys. Do you know what? I don't mind if you just hit the slider thing at the bottom. Hit the thing. You're falling asleep. I can tell. I'm falling asleep at this point. It's a bit late for me though. Slide the thing along. Which way would you need to do it? Slide it that way. Just skip ahead a bit. Yeah. Drag the YouTube thing. There. Drag it. Where is it? It's probably here now. Where is it? It's probably there. Yeah. Drag it here. I've run out of things to say on this segment. But that's another thing. Oh, here's what I wanted to say. How I've done it is by organizing myself a lot more as well. So what I've done is I bought myself a scheduler, right? A proper diary scheduler thing. This has got all my notes in it. 2022, Year of the Tiger. Yeah, you probably can't see that. And yeah, I've just basically started plotting out my days. I used to do this a lot when I was studying, to be fair. When I was doing my dissertation, I used to plan out everything by I keep saying like. I really don't like doing that. I don't like saying like. And I was like, have I already done that segment? Have I done that? Did I already talk about this? Can't remember. So what I'd do is I would get the things planned on a daily basis. All right, I'd set aside one day in the week to do podcast stuff. Sometimes it goes to 2 days. And that's one thing I've done, is just to organize my time, and then I spend 1 day a week working on podcast stuff. Now, here's the other thing as well. When you start doing this, you need to really get your ideas. You need to like separate them out into various things. You need to plan of action. You need to have a to-do list, and you need to split your to-do list out into various areas, such as branding. Okay, I need to design a logo. Okay, how to do that? How to design a logo. Even the design of the logo was something I didn't know how to do that. Okay, how did I do that? There's a thing called Canva. Go and use Canva. I'm talking about stuff which I'm talking to people who probably go, of course, Canva, mate. What year was you born? I didn't know about Canva. I use Canva. Audio software that I'm using is, I should say, you need a sound interface. So I got a Presonus. I'm using a Presonus Studio 68C because I wanted the option of having more inputs. I should have really stuck to the technical aspects for this segment. There's so much more to talk about now, and I realize I'm running out of time. So buy a Presonus. With the Presonus, because you've got the hardware, you actually have access to the full version of Studio One, which is Presonus's audio editing software. Just make sure that you know how to activate that properly. But you do have access, if you've got Presonus hardware, you actually have access to the full version. It's called Studio One Artist. I was actually using Studio One Prime for a long time, and realizing I was struggling with that with certain things I wanted to do, such as the auto ducking. Okay, I told you this segment was going to get a bit technical. You know, when the music is playing and I start speaking, the music's actually dropping a little bit whilst I'm speaking. It's auto ducking. It's auto ducking or audio ducking. I suppose it's the same thing. But what's happening is when I'm speaking, it's dropping the music down. So Studio One is I was trying to get that done in Studio One Prime, but there's a certain thing called a compressor. Man, this gets really technical. Okay, bear in mind that my other part-time job, I do work in, technically it's radio. Yeah, technically it's radio. I do work in radio, but I don't really work on the production side of it. I kind of work on the distribution side of it. So I work with studio producers, and then on the one hand, and then broadcasters on the other. And I'm kind of like the middle person that kind of keeps the link between the two and just make sure that studio producers have what they need. But they do all now I get certain things from them where I have to read, talking about like the way life works out. Whilst I was thinking about what I should do in life and what I could do, studies are coming to an end. I get this job working this was my job when I was doing my studies, my part-time job. One of my part-time jobs when I was studying. I must have had like 3 part-time jobs, man. All at the same time, to be fair. I think at one point I had 3 different part-time jobs. No, it was only ever 2. Anyway, so I didn't know about all this technical stuff that's actually going on in actual music production. I learned how to edit stuff in music software. I was using Audition with the company that I work for. We use Audition, but when it came to doing this podcast, man, I was just in a whole nother world. So learning software. So I should have done this earlier. There's the hardware side of it, lights, camera. I'm so tempted to say action. Sofa cushions. Just jazzing it out a bit. Then there's the software side of things, and for that, there's 2 things I want to mention. Studio One Artist. If you buy when you buy your hardware, I would recommend getting a Presonus. There is a thing called a Foxrite. I don't know why I didn't go for the Foxrite. Foxrite is, got some good reviews as well. The only thing is that Presonus, I swayed towards Presonus mainly because Rav uses a Presonus. That's the first thing. The other thing is that they had bundled software with it. And one of their software, which I kept reading about people in their reviews of buying a Presonus hardware, they're like, man, you get all this free software with it as well. And they mentioned Studio One Artist quite a lot. So I thought, man, that's what I'm going to get that one. You also get Ableton. as another software, music editing software, mixing software. I still don't know the difference. I'm getting all these terms right. Editing, mixing. When I was doing my job in the radio thing, I didn't really need to understand like the terminology. I just had to do it. I just had to read the music waveforms and be like, okay, that's too loud there. It needs to be a certain amount of decibels. It needs to be a certain amount of length, and it needs to be in this format. And so getting that job actually kind of prepared me for some of the things. But this has been deep end. I have to tell you, this is deep end stuff for me. It took me ages. It's part of the challenges. I'll talk about it more in the next thing. And then the other thing, how I'm doing this podcast is I'm using, in terms of video editing, DaVinci Resolve. Get DaVinci Resolve now. It's free. It's amazing what you can do. I think it's on DaVinci Resolve 18. Rav was suggesting it to me. He was on a different software, and then he suggested getting DaVinci Resolve. So I got DaVinci Resolve. And even Rav is saying he's thinking about moving over to DaVinci Resolve. It's only because he's got so used to doing things on, I forgot it was Pro Tools or something like that. Anyway, coming up to, yeah. So that's the other side of it, is getting the software. So I would suggest DaVinci Resolve for your video editing and bringing your video and your sound together. Studio One as your audio editing to actually capture the sound through the mic, all this kind of stuff. And in terms of the hardware for your audio, I would recommend not USB microphones. I recommend, you can do it with USBs. I just went to the most, sort of, I'm going to throw myself into the deep end, like I say, and I went for XLR cable microphones and proper kind of, these kind of microphones. I still don't know all the terms. I pretended, I sound as if I know what I'm doing. I don't really know what I'm doing, to be honest. As I say, it's we're going to be learning together. Hey, me and you. Yeah, we're learning together. Okay, once again, saved by the music. I don't know if it's you who's been saved or if it's me. I kind of get the impression it's both, but you're still here listening. Thank you. Trust me, I feel it. I feel the pain. We're going to get through this. And we're going to enjoy some more craziness. Okay, coming up in the next hour, we're coming to the end of hour 2, so coming up in the third hour, I'm going to start talking a bit more about the challenges that I've been going through to get this whole thing sorted out. Some of them I've alluded to already, but join me after the break. We'll have a 2-minute break. We'll be back to do some more TAJ Talks. How'd you like the music, man? I love it, man. Yeah. That was one of the main reasons I want to do this. All right, time to go for a break. Okay, welcome back to TAJ Talks. You are here with me, TAJ, at the start of our third hour. Third hour together. My goodness, that's a lot of love. Thank you for joining me. Okay, so in this hour, we're going to be talking about, I keep saying we. I am going to be talking about some of the challenges that I've had in starting up this whole thing. What have been some of the key? I tell you, there's been some huge challenges, and from these challenges, some advice that I can give as well. Kind of gave some technical advice before, so I've just had some peanuts. That's why I probably should have eaten peanuts. There's so many things I'm learning. Yeah, you could probably hear. Yeah, I shouldn't have eaten peanuts. Anyway, I have now. Too late to do anything about it. I feel like having some chocolate as well, though. I just saw some chocolate over there. Anyway, so in this segment, some of the challenges more on a personal level in terms of the struggles that I've had. If I were to explain, if I was, I'm going to go for the chocolate. 1 second. Oh man, it just dropped everywhere. I'm sorry. I know this is probably a sin against radio, but you shouldn't eat whilst you're eating on radio. It's just testing. It's all part of the learning process. My reason for doing this is because I want to test to see if I can actually eat. Seems right so far. Sorry, I probably if I had viewers joining and watching this thing, they've probably lost more. He's just eating food. Am I just eating food? Yeah. You know, there's going to be a lot of things that I'm doing wrong here, and I've realised a lot of them as well whilst I've just done this one today. First major one started so late, and it is now pretty late because I started so late. So I have to be a bit conscious of the fact that I'm speaking quite loudly. I mean, when I take the headphones off, I realise just how loudly I am. But I need to keep, there's, as I say, housemates. I'm with housemates. I've got to be aware of this. I've got to start earlier next time. That's one of the challenges. Time. Talk about challenges. Time is a huge, yeah, wow, you can see the volume, the levels. I'm really, I'm clipping. I'm going to turn up the gain ever so slightly just to make sure that I'm picking up a bit more of what I'm saying here. That's probably a sin as well. Changing the gain midway through, probably not a good idea. Probably going to be clipping a lot more now, but the volumes are getting low. That's what I can see. The volumes are getting low. The volume is getting low. Does that make sense? I don't know. Does that make sense? Yeah, it's time. Time has been one of the things that I've really, what I've realised? Okay, I was getting one of the biggest challenges in this whole thing of launching this podcast was the challenge of accepting that it will happen when it happens. In my kind of personality type is impulsive. Just wanting to get things done and just jump in and just doing stuff. And then, not that I do that when I do stuff. If I want to learn to play baseball. I was just saying to my husband, I want to learn. I'm not going to go into play baseball and start going. That was just a sound I made. I just made the sound because why does that sound represent? Why didn't I use words? Just thinking now. What was I trying to say? I was trying to say I throw myself all in. Instead of saying I throw myself all in, I said, my personality type is like when I start something new, I'm like, why did I do that? Why? Anyway. Yeah, just when I'm talking about trying to keep it low for my housemate who's next door. Yeah, this is the segment when I decide to just go really loudly. What world you living in, Taj? Or Taj? I really don't like being called Taj. I really don't. Anyway, what was I saying? Tangents. That's probably another sin in radio. Don't laugh at yourself. Don't laugh at yourself, mate. I know that's a thing in stand-up. I was going to do stand-up, funnily enough. What do you think? Should I still give it a go? Can I eat chocolate while I'm doing it? That's my only question. Can I eat chocolate and peanuts? Oh, man. Jeez. Why am I doing this? Why are you listening to this? Who's actually listened to this from the start? Listen, I'm not expecting people to be at this point. I can say crazy stuff now. That's why that music played, I think. That was that. You know, got a bit dark there. Because this is the dark hour. Third hour. The witching hour. I could be stupid now. Who's watching? Who really gives it? Who's watched 2 hours of me already? Especially when the last segment, I just ran out of things to say after 10 minutes. That's a 30-minute segment. Okay, before I get into challenges, let me just say something else. Here's some advice that I want to give. This could be a challenge. This could also lead to a challenge if I think about it another way. If you're going to do a podcast, don't worry about what you need to do to make people come and watch your pod. Just do a podcast that you would enjoy making, and that goes with anything in life. Or you would enjoy watching. I'm going to have to watch this back, because I have to edit it all. God, it's going to be such a long process to edit 3 hours. Do you know? In between breaks, I've had to change SD cards. I said to Rav, I was like, I don't think 32 gigabytes is enough. I should have got the 64 gigabyte thing. But to be fair, 64 wouldn't have been enough. I think 128 gigabytes of memory card. They're expensive though, man. Yeah, I think I should have. I've had to change. There's been. Anyway, I'm really worried about when the podcasts are just me. I think I'm chatting so much poo-poo. Again, swearing. Oh yeah, that was the thing. Why? When was I going to mention the swearing thing? I said right at the beginning. I said I'm going to explain to you why I'm not swearing. That's been a challenge. Trying to learn how not to swear. That was actually something that was separate to the podcast. That was I don't usually make New Year's resolutions, but I made a New Year's resolution. I made 2 New Year's resolutions this year. I'm not going to share all of them, actually, to be fair. One of them of which was, I'm going to stop swearing. Amazing what happens when you stop swearing. At least for me. Maybe that says a lot about who I was as a swearing individual. But anyway. Jeez. I honestly don't know. I'm just wondering who's watching this. So, learning how not to swear. This is going to be a challenge for this podcast, not swearing. I like to swear. I tell you, there's something about... I'm going to talk about swearing another time. But obviously when I have guests, I'm going to have to give them a preface and just say, yeah, no swearing. Please. Yeah. So, yeah, one of the challenges is... got right the way back to what I was saying. Time. Time is something I had to learn. It's just this thing will be ready when it's ready. And you can't rush it. I need to be a bit closer. You can't rush it. As I said, I had this idea in February. Was it not the idea? I began this in February. And you know the excitement levels that I have, me being an impulsive type. My excitement levels were... and this is also something else. This all ties into this thing about dopamine. I started researching dopamine just prior to going into 2022, which was also part of the reasons why I was doing this resolutions, some of the resolutions I was making when I made the one about not swearing. But dopamine levels. As a sort of impulsive person, I realised that a lot of my oh, I don't know what I'm doing in life, and kind of feeling a bit depressed about things, is coming from the fact that I am going to short-term fixes in terms of raising my dopamine levels. And so I often throw myself into crazy things just because of the excitement of doing something new. But then once that thing becomes quite regular, that's why you move on to something else. Well, that's why I would move on to something else, because I'm no longer getting the dopamine. Literally, do the research. Look at it. The research into dopamine. You start to not get the kick of the biological chemical release. Biochemical release probably is the correct term. Biological chemical. Biochemical release. Whatever. So when I was preparing to do this, one of my biggest challenges I realised actually fits in quite well with... See, did you see the tangent there? Did you see? Can you see how this is working? This must be so annoying for you, because I don't finish sentences, and then I start a new train of thought, and then I can't remember where I've come... I should just finish sentences. I should just finish my sentences. Anyway, when I was... oh my goodness, these tangents, they're not good for my brain. It hurts. It actually hurts me. It's not really hurting, but it's making me feel sleepy and tired. Like I want to go to bed now. I've got work to do. Like after this, I genuinely got work to do. Anyway, dopamine levels, impulsive personality. My fear in starting this podcast, I kept saying it to Ravi, I said, mate, I'm worried I'm going to get bored of this. And I'll be honest with you, there was a period of time when I was facing some other life challenges and I started to just forget about the podcast. And I went from being supercharged. Why did I say supercharged up? That's another thing I really, really hate. Using the word super. That's like, you know, I hate to pinpoint a country of origin for this, but it does come from one particular country. Saying super in front of, superlatives. That's just, I'm just going to leave it. I'm just going to leave it. Anyway, I was really excited. That's what I was going to say. I was really excited. I got nothing. Anyway. You can see it. Can you see what's going on? It's tangents. I haven't got a slogan for this show yet. I think the word tangents has to be part of it. Once again, I haven't done this for a while. Post your comments below. This finger should be a bit equal. Post your comments below. What do you think the slogan should be? Like, who are you who's even watching this at this point? I'd really like to know. If you're still watching at this point, put the time marker and say 2 hours 15 minutes. I'm still here. And then you'll be giving me a thumbs up being like, love it, man, you're crazy. Or you'll be like, 2 hours 15 minutes in, I am so angry with you for wasting my time, but I can't stop listening. Hopefully that's what's happening, actually, because that means that I'm doing something right if people are still listening. What was I saying? I was saying, the impulsivity, the nature that I have, is that I was worried that I would get bored of this fairly quickly. And I went through a sort of a personal challenge that I was going through in life, and I just dropped the podcast. I just stopped caring about it. I'd reorganized my room, I'd bought equipment, and then it was just sitting there for a good month. A whole month, I think, I lost, and I just started getting a bit, and I think it was also because I just wasn't excited about the podcast. That challenge in life came along, and the podcast, because it hadn't happened, quick satisfaction. Dopamine is all about like quick. I think it's about that. Quick satisfaction, gratification, instant. But this podcast was a quick moment of gratification and satisfaction and dopamine levels when I was talking about it with Rav. I was all excited. But this is the long haul. You got to commit to it, especially when you've spent money on the equipment, which is one of the reasons why I was saying to Rav, I'm just going to buy it now, because that's what I need to do to start this whole thing. Because now my money's where my mouth is. Yeah, and that's the other thing. The challenges of motivating yourself to just keep at something, especially when you have everything you want to have happen up here. You know what it should be like, and you can see the state of the situation at the moment, and you just think, this is taking ages, and there's just one challenge after another challenge, and you think, right, the podcast hasn't happened yet. What do I need to do? And about 3 months ago, even less than that, even a month ago, let's go a month ago, because it was May, 1st of May, when I was really supposed to have done the first one, because I wanted to hopefully catch that friend of mine who was here in the country but was leaving. If you asked me a month ago, like the things that I had to do, and it is this huge Mount Everest in front of me. And I just thought to myself, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I want to get to the other side of the mountain, but this is a huge climb in front of me. This is, you know what it is? It's going to take work. It's going to take time. It's going to take effort. It's going to take labor. And it's going to, as I say, time, it's going to be a slow process. Now, for someone who's wired to be quite impulsive, you're going to have to get to the other side of that mountain without biochemical dopamine or whatever it is that the body's releasing to get you through that. That's when you dig deep, and you have to go on the basis of something that you can't really feel. It's something that you've told yourself, I'm going to do this podcast. And again, this is where Auntie Heather and Ravi have been amazing support, and many other people, I should say as well. Many other people have been so supportive with their comments and ways that they've just said, look, all right, it'll happen when it happens. It's all good, So that really has been the biggest challenge, is just to get this thing launched. Aside from the technical side of it as well, the technical side of it, because that was what was contributing, aside from the personal challenges in life, when I finally got out through that and I went, right, I'm just going to get on with the technical challenges that I need to do. And here's one bit of advice. Every day, just do something that takes you forward, even if it's not directly related to that project that you're working on. Some days I just wouldn't work on a podcast because I didn't have time to work on a podcast. But I was saying to myself, or I wasn't in the mood, let's say, to work on the podcast. But I would say to myself, today I need to do something that goes forward. So you know what I'd do? I'd just go and wash the laundry. Just do the laundry. Wash the laundry? That makes sense. Do the laundry. Why does wash the laundry not make sense? It shouldn't. You're washing your clothes. It's laundry, isn't it? It's the laundry word screws it all up. Do the laundry. So do my house chores, do things, and I just thought every day, just do something, because it'll make you feel good that you've done something. The last thing you want to do is just not do anything. You see, I think action, just moving, keep moving. Now, I'm going to get a little bit biblical here. This is something that is in the Genesis story, actually. This principle comes from the Genesis story. I'll probably say this many other times as well, because it's a principle. When you look in Genesis, the instruction that was given to humanity before they settle in the town of Shinar, which is where they eventually built the Tower of Babel, the instruction was to spread across the face of the earth. That was the instruction, the divine command, almost. In fact, it was. Multiply and spread across the earth. I've come with the exact words. Now, what do they do? And this is what humans do. This is human nature. We want to settle into a place. We want to get comfortable because it's challenging to keep moving and to have your environment change and for you to have to learn and grow and adapt. And so when they eventually settled in one place, which is not what the instruction was, that's when they built this huge tower, this Tower of Babel, and they said, we will make our name great. So they've got to a point where they've forgotten. They've forgotten who God is. They've forgotten that there is a bigger power, a bigger force, and that bigger power is telling you to keep moving. Don't get stuck. Don't get settled. So that was one of my big challenges. I'm not going to get too philosophical and spiritual, all this kind of stuff. But that was one of the things. I just had to find a way to keep going every single day and keep learning and learning all the things that I needed to learn technically in terms of the software, hardware, lighting, all this kind of stuff. And I now have, when I was preparing for that first, let's call it the pilot episode is what I called it, beginning of May, I remember how I felt that night. I was so stressed that day. You just waking up the day going, this is the day I'm supposed to be filming and recording, and I don't have hardly half the stuff isn't sorted out yet. And I remember walking away that night or going to bed that night. I was so discouraged because I didn't do it in the end. I just knew. I just looked at it and I went, I'm trying to work out what this little level, what does main output mean? Why isn't the music going down? I've got to use a compress, and I was doing all of this and I was thinking I was supposed to be recording this, and I was working out basic stuff. What is this little speaker sound? If I press that speaker button, I can't hear myself in the headphones now. Jeez, the technical, it was a nightmare. I don't think I've ever been as stressed in doing all this stuff since when I was working in the city, and that was part of the job back then, which is why I left it, because that was a daily stress. And the worst thing about that one was, though, you were working on projects for clients that you weren't even doing it for yourself. You weren't staying up till 5-6 o'clock in the morning for yourself. You're doing it because the client or the partners or the managers, senior managers, whatever, they were all expecting you to deliver some stupid, I'm sorry, but the stupid PowerPoint slide talking about why this color line red means that this is the ex CEO and this blue line is talking about this region and that's where the HR is going to be sit. You're probably trying to think, what did he actually do? What was your actual job in a city? Were you just making PowerPoints, like making lines? What kind of job? Anyway, well, essentially that's what it felt like. I was working for a big organization, but it felt like all I was doing was just changing the color and lines on a PowerPoint slide. Anyway, I'm sorry for all the guys who are still working over there. Sorry, guys. Anyway, yeah. So, and I realised one of the things that there is this pressure. I felt so stressed. I haven't felt like that since working in the city. Well, the difference was that I went, this is now my project, and I'm going to get this done. And nothing comes easy in life, even when it's in your own project. So I just had to have the need for patience on myself, patience that things take time, I had to be easy on myself. Like, how can you expect to go from not knowing anything about all this stuff to just producing a podcast overnight? How's that going to happen? So I had to be a bit kinder to myself. I had to encourage myself. I had to give room for other people to encourage me. I had to open up that door and share with people and say, like, I'm having really bad time. And I had to contact people. I'd contact Auntie Heather, Rav, and just be like, I'm not having a great time. I'm really struggling with certain things. Auntie Heather doesn't even know that this is what it is. She knows that I'm working on something. She doesn't know what it is. I can't wait for when she comes and is the guest. She has been the person that I have been that was the goal. I always just went, she's seen me fulfill many of my dreams. And this was one of those where I thought, man, I need to do this for her. She's a wonderful person. Anyway, we'll meet Auntie Heather. So, when that Nike has this phrase, just do it. I mean, that really is the philosophy of like, just do it and just do something. Just do something. Obviously, they didn't pick just do something because that doesn't work as well as just do it. But, I would say just do something. Because when you say just do it, it's like, well, what? That's half the problem. For me, it was half the problem. Well, what shall I do? Don't know. If I had the phrase and motto, just do something, now I know what I'm doing. So just do it. And Nike, you might want to think about it. They're making billions. They need to think about it. Yeah. So I had so much more respect for the art of creativity and producing things. There was a time when I used to listen to music or watch films, all this kind of stuff, and I'd be like, let's look at that. Oh, I don't like that bit about that. And now I'm thinking, you know what? Now I realise what goes on in the background of producing stuff. And I just think anyone who produces anything, man, just... What's the phrase? This phrase people use, props to you? Do people still use that? Props? I feel like I'm 75 years old. Props. Anyway, well done, all you creative people out there. That's what I was trying to say. yeah, one of the other big frustrations as well, challenges, frustrations, was since I decided to do the podcast, I have been having so many good conversations, almost like it's just rubbing it in my face. It was so frustrating because once I decided to do the podcast and I have equipment, I have cameras, I have microphones, and then now there's no way to capture the conversation because it's not ready yet. I haven't learned how to do things. Yeah, I ended up just having so many conversations with people, which in the back of my head, I was having conversations with people constantly, and in the back of my head, I was going, this could have been a great podcast. Why isn't the podcast ready? So, yeah, I'm really excited. I'm really tired as well, to be fair. But I'm really excited about this thing's finally starting today. It's been a real mountain. And I think, actually, to be fair, this is only just the start. I can actually enjoy this moment. I am enjoying it. I'm enjoying doing this, even if it's long. I know this is long. 3 hours is a really long start. But if you're watching this, I really want to know who's watching this, who's watched all 3 hours, because that's my audience. But then I guess I'm going to have a really small audience. People only... Why listening to one person for 3... Anyway, Rav is convinced that this is something that is good. And there are many others out there. Oh, I mentioned the Watsits glasses, so check out that. Also type in 2 mics, 1 input. And that's Rav's channel and Rav's thing. That's what he does. But I feature in that. And in that, I think he says at the end of it, or in the comments, he says, keep your eyes peeled because TAJ is going to have his own channel. Well, here it is. This is the channel. So, this is TAJ Talks. We're pretty much coming towards the end now. You are great for being here with me. We are now going to wrap up the show in the final segment coming up after the break. With just some final thoughts and just plans for the future. Where I'm planning to take this thing. Don't really know, to be fair. But I'll give you an insight. And like I say, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I hate saying that. Alright, we'll be back. 2 minutes. Peace. Welcome back to TAJ Talks. Yeah, I had to say hello to my mum. I couldn't do a first podcast without saying hi to mum. Hi, Mum. Another wonderful woman in my life. She really is. She's been amazing. Well, welcome back to TAJ Talks. This is the last segment. We're going to be talking about the final aspects of starting a new podcast. Thank you for being with me up until this point. In this final half hour, which is not really a full hour, full half hour, yeah, we're just going to be talking. I say we. Who's we? Me, Bob. Stop being so alive, man. You're making me feel like you're actually in the room. We. Anyway, I'm going to be talking about just plans for the future, where TAJ Talks is going in the future. I mentioned it before. I said, final thoughts. Final thoughts is coming right at the end. But at this point, I just want to say, share with you, let you know what the plans are for where this goes. First thing is I need to get the whole structure a bit more clearly. So there's going to be more sort of this time round, the intro, the first segment. You know, I didn't get a chance to really have to rush through the news, but there'll be a bit more kind of like regular features that come in the beginning and at the end, thinking about how to do that. But the whole point about the main thing about this, however, though, is I had peanuts again. You can probably hear it. I can hear it. Sorry. The main thing is I don't know where this is going. This mug is really the wrong way around, because when I hold it like that, it's made for people with left hands, I think. With left hands? It's made for people with left hands. For left-handed people, because when you drink it this way, then you can see the tea. I think drinking is okay on radio. Not that this is radio. I need to get rid of the peanuts. Well, it's not only the peanuts, it's the saliva, isn't it? Sorry. Getting a bit gross there, talking about my saliva. Anyway. The whole point about this is that it's supposed to be quite organic. So I don't really know where it's going. This, in all honesty, could end up being... It's starting off in one room, right? With 3 cameras. And I could end up on the high street 6 months down the line, and this show could have descended into a Borat style, let's go and interview the public. It could. I'm just saying. I have no fixed thing about this, where this thing goes, what it becomes, how it evolves, and all the different aspects of what it is and where I want it to go. So that's the first thing. It's going to be an organic thing. I don't really have it in mind where it's going. I don't really have any set goals. What, however, I do want to do is... I'm trying to read my notes. Man, I wish I'd typed this. Oh yeah, a lot more social media. I could read that one. I couldn't read the previous 2 bullet points. Oh yeah, I said the year of the tiger. Well, yeah, it's the year of the tiger. So I'm just hoping that this year is the start of something, and I don't think anyone is going to be watching this. I don't think the numbers are going to be there. This is already it's a really poor first podcast. I know it is. Anyway, I need to be a bit more. I need to be kinder to myself. This is not that bad. It's not that bad, Bob. Bob is like, man, you're crapping all over this thing. We just started. He's got a mark. Bob's got a scar. So I don't know. I'm just doing this because it's something to do. As I said, I'm just filling in the time with something that I've always wanted to do. Now I'm doing it. And hopefully there are people out there that like it and will help it to... I don't really know what else do I need. I don't know. I could just keep doing this and I only have 2 viewers. I'd probably still do this. I'm just doing it. I'll be honest with you. I'm doing it for me. Does that sound terrible? It does sound terrible a little bit, doesn't it? Though I think deep down what Rav has been saying to me is like, Taj, you know, in your weird way of being weird, you kind of make people laugh. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's. I know I make myself laugh. I know, like being an idiot. Make myself laugh. Ooh. I'm gonna stay away from this topic. This is getting a little bit. Anyway, the other plans are social media. Trying to maybe get a Facebook page. I guess. I don't know why. Might have a website eventually. You get a website and then maybe upload the videos there as well as YouTube. Might make some t-shirts with the logos. And then if both of you who are watching, you want a t-shirt and you're still watching in 6 months when I've decided to do the t-shirts, I can send you both a t-shirt. Yeah. I joke upon myself. Anyway. Yeah. So it's gonna be the volumes are dropping again. Anyway, it's gonna be something that I have no real set plans for the future as to where this goes. It's just gonna. I didn't need a half hour for this, did I? I didn't need half an hour. Okay, and here's the other thing. This is gonna go wherever. This is gonna go wherever it goes, and I'm not too concerned. Though I want feedback from people who watch this, and maybe you should do that. I will take it on board, but I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to try and make it go in a certain direction. I want it to just do it itself. And I guess what that means is... is that until I decide I want to do something, then I'll do it. This is really bringing out... I'm sorry. I want to make this a community, but I just feel like I'm going to be the obstacle in the community. Sorry. I want to make this about a community thing and just... I guess... Do I want to make this about a community thing? Oh, talking about community thing, and what I want to do is I do want to develop a... moving my voice down or whatever. It sounded a lot better when I did that. I do want to do like... I want to take your calls. Now, I don't know how I'm going to do that for the both of you who are watching. Man, I need to believe in myself more. But let's say there's loads of people who start to watch this. I want to take in calls. I don't know how to do that. I think I want to do it so that it's like a radio show. I don't think I want to do Skype calls, video kind of thing. But I think I want to take in like audio calls, like telephone calls. And I think you can do that on Skype. So I might set that up. I might set up like a TAJ Talks at Skype kind of thing, or TAJ Talks Skype, whatever, or a Zoom account. And then you guys can call in to the Zoom thing or the Skype thing. And if I set up a Zoom, but Zoom only gives you 45 minutes, doesn't it? Yeah, it might have to be Skype. And then I'll just do, call in to Skype. I'll give you the Skype thing, you call in Skype, and it'll ring, and I'll find a way to connect it into the whole sound thing, feedback, whatever. And then I'll have actual calls and I'll have discussions. Because that's the other aspect of it. There'll be guests here in person in the studio. It's been a long time since I looked at that camera. Don't know why I got that running. I definitely don't know why I got that one running. That was just so you all know. Poor Bob. He's actually helped me a lot here when I've lost my way sometimes. So there's in-person interviews, and then there's Skype interviews, right? Then there's just TAJ Talks itself, just me chatting about certain topics. And then there's also, this is the thing that I want to do. This is really part of this segment. One of the key things for this segment about the plans for the future. One of the big plans for the future is I want to try and get this up and running. It's dependent on how many people are following the channel, subscribe to the channel, viewing, all that kind of stuff. but I want to kind of get people calling in so that I can actually talk to you. So that will be the whole community side of it thing. So there's that. And then there's also, I had another idea which just left my head. Oh, I hate when that happens. I think it was about the logo. No, I already did the t-shirt thing. Yeah, so I had an idea that I was going to say. It's just very late, that's all it is. Yeah, so that's what I want to do. What's that? Just trying to work out what this thing says here. Webical? Oh, website. Webical. That's how bad my writing is. That I've written website so it looks like Webical. I've already spoken about the website anyway. Oh yeah, that was the other thing I was going to say. I don't know if the plans for the future. I don't know if it's sustainable to do this every week. I don't know. I tell you what, another plan for the future is I need to make my forearms bigger. I've got such skinny wrists. I've always felt like that. I need to get a bit bigger, man. That's the other plans for the future. That's got nothing to do with TAJ Talks, that's just me. But kind of to do with TAJ Talks, because, hey, I'm TAJ, not TAJ. So yeah, that's the other thing, is that I think this is probably going to be a fortnightly thing. It will be every Friday. Yeah, it's going to be fortnightly. Yeah, and then it's going to be every Friday. How do the two go together? Okay, whenever it is released, whether it's weekly or whether it's fortnightly, it will be Fridays that it will be released. So that's just one thing for you to know. And then the other side of it is just get loads of different guests and just eventually I'll email Joe and say, "Hey Joe, it's TAJ," and he will say, "Who the hell is TAJ?" And then I'll call Jimmy and I'll say, "Jimmy, you'll never believe what Joe said when I called him." And he'll say, "Who the hell is TAJ?" And I'll say, "Jimmy, man, how many times I told you it's TAJ, it's not TAJ, man." So anyway, yeah, just get more guests, all that kind of stuff. I think that's the end of this particular segment. I'm just fiddling around with my thing now. Like I said to you all from the beginning, this was never meant to be polished. This was never meant to be a real great first podcast. I am literally just starting out on this thing, sharing with you the whole process. And I think I've already scared off 50% of the audience at this point. Or just annoyed them. Those people who are no longer watching this bit just went, do you know what? He's not even funny. That's why I said, and that's why it's in the intro. Funny. How am I funny? I don't think I'm funny. I think I'm an idiot. Yeah. I'm a fool. Do you know Mike Tyson said that? I forgot about the Mike Tyson quote, but what the quote was, I don't think I said it. He said, in order to become a master, you have to first be the fool. So there you go. All of you who didn't tune in right to the end, you've just missed out on a really great quote, which the others who stayed, you just caught it. Well done, you others who are here with me to the end. And also, I apologise. I could have set that up a bit better. Anyway, I'm waiting for the music to come save all of us. Save us from ourselves. There's not really much else to say. I really have no other future plans. Fortnightly, try and make it a weekly thing, but I think editing is going to be a long process where I'm just not going to have the strength to do this every week. And obviously, honestly, I think I need more time to prepare content. I genuinely think I need 1 week just to prepare content. I can't do weird shows like this every week. So, because I don't have time to do content. So, if I'm recording, anyway, I'm not going to give away all the background details you don't need to know. Anyway, I'll work on it. Yeah, just waiting for the music to play. How does that camera look over there? I really feel like this is the most. It feels like I'm talking it feels like, well, I know that there's no one here. And I'm turning around and look at the camera shot of Bob, but it feels like there's still people. I don't feel like I'm on my own. Oh, maybe that's what it's all about. He just doesn't want to feel lonely. He just wants people to hear him. Man, I got a quote from a previous girlfriend of mine, which I could share what she said to me once, which would be so true right now. But she got it spot on, because that's exactly what she was right. She was right. I knew it though. Anyway, here we go. Talk about being saved by the music. We'll be back after this very short break, not as long as the other ones. Just remember, we'll be back in about a minute, and then we'll be here for the closing words, things, thanks, whatever. All right, this is TAJ Talks. Just gonna go away and come back to wrap it all up. Thank you for being with me up until this point, and I hope you've learned a little bit something about what it takes to start a podcast, even if half of it didn't make any kind of sense. All about the tangents, man. All about the tangents. Okay, welcome back to TAJ Talks. This is now the final section. We're going to come to the end. Just a few points just to wrap up, just to let you know what's going on in the future, when to catch this next. This will be, this is available on a Friday. You're watching it now already, I don't need to tell you that. So, just to let you know, next week, or the next one that comes up, we're going to be having Rav here. I've mentioned Rav's name a couple of times already. Now, Rav is not a guest. Rav is going to be the person that you'll be seeing from time to time, not as a regular guest, but he is one of the main people behind. He is. In terms of a technical production of this thing, he is the other part of TAJ Talks. Go and check out his channel, Ravcan. Ravcan. I think it's Ravcan. That's terrible. I don't even know what Rav's YouTube. I've been on it. I'm actually in one of his YouTube videos. Go and check out Ravcan. We'll get Rav. He'll explain it. So that's the other thing. The next show, TAJ Talk will be with Rav. That will be probably 2.5 hours, because it will be first half hour. It'll be 2 hours, won't it? It'll be 2 hours. It'll be a 2 hour thing. 2 hour conversation with Rav. Hopefully he can mediate and kind of bring you back on track a bit, and you'll start to see probably even worse sides of me, to be fair. If I can be this stupid and crazy on my own, Rav's going to notch it up a bit. So, not because he's the straight man to my... What do they call? How does Ricky Gervais say it? How does David Brent say it in The Office? I don't know. Anyway, he's he's gonna be next week. So that's the next one to make you guys all aware of. I keep looking there just because I keep knocking this over as well, just to make you all aware that next week is going to be Rav, and that's it. That's really it. All I can say at this point is I just want to add a couple of things. I talked about inspirations before and who inspired me to do this, but I really want to say I didn't mention names in this first one. As I said, if I don't want to go down that road, I did this one when I was leaving my job in the city, and I sent out an email saying goodbye to people, thank you for all the stuff that we've been, all your help and working with all your great colleagues. And I was umming and ahhing about it. I was like, I want to mention this person's name, like thank you. But then that's going out to everyone. So when it's going out to everyone, you got to mention some other name. So I ended up just mentioning loads of names in that final goodbye email. And typical, I left out one name, which I really loved that manager. He was a great guy. I'm going to mention his name now, actually. Ross. I remember you, man. I remember you from the days in the city. You were great. And I mentioned Ross, and I left Ross's name out. And he came up to me afterwards, and I was like, nice email, Taj. You didn't mention me. And I'm like, oh, mate, I'm so sorry. Felt so bad. Oh, another one as well. Steve, when we had our leaving thing, we were left that client, and Steve, we came up to Steve afterwards and said, Steve, we forgot to mention you, man. And Steve was amazing as a manager. You know who you are, Steve. Hope you're watching this as well. Anyway, I want to mention another name I want to mention as the music plays, which is quite fitting. I want to say thank you to, I've already mentioned my mum and saying that she's a wonderful person. I also want to say thanks to my dad. My dad, we've had a bit of a troubled time recently, but we got through it, and I love him to bits. He's an amazing influence on me. He's helped me to be the person I am. But my dad, when I told him that I was going to start this, he just gave me the thumbs up, and he just went, yeah, you should. And that meant the world to me. That really did. So, thanks, Dad. Getting a bit emotional here. Anyway, that's all we have time for now. I am going to say goodbye. Thank you for watching. Thank you to everyone who supported me along the way in making this first podcast, helping me to get there. And in the process of time, I hope to have you on this show and you can be part of the talks. So, until next time, when we have another TAJ Talk, take care, God bless, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.